Okay, I think we're finally live. So, god damn, that guy, he can gallop. And did you notice how far he galloped? Did he
Yeah,
mention
a little
genetic
bit.
entropy?
Say that again?
Did he get into genetic entropy?
Huh.
I think that was the only thing he didn't mention.
Yeah. Surprisingly, he mentioned like degeneration only like once or so.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But he hit all his other points. You know, ERVs and incomplete lineage sorting. I ran down one of his sources, and I put a link in chat here. But it was let me see where we got it here. I ran down one, and it's really interesting. This rogue data fell. Okay,
Oh yeah, that one wasn't
yeah,
that from like CMI or something?
yeah, well, Creation Com.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, and it's really interesting. So I ran this down, and I was trying to find this Evers what is it, Ebersberger's quote that they have in here, because they quote him, which is interesting. So they quote him. The hell they
Hey
quote
Leo,
him.
by the way.
Hi, Leo. So they quote Ebersberger. I think. Let's see, Felsenstein.
Wait. Just making sure. Is my audio good?
Yeah, it is. Well,
mute yourself, Speed. I want to see something.
You just want to mute me.
No, I want to see if it's like just why the fuck that was doing that. So, all right, now I'm gonna mute, and then you talk, Andrew.
Hello.
Shit, it's here too.
What the? I don't know.
Oh,
That's fucking weird. That is just.
Why is it doing that?
I don't know. It's doing it for us too.
Okay, now let me mute and see if it does it.
Okay, how about now?
Nope. It must be with the host. Something when the host mutes. That's fucked up.
Okay, okay, you're unmuted. I'm gonna mute and then go ahead and try it again.
All right, how about now?
No, it's good now. Okay, now stay muted. I'm gonna mute and then you talk.
Hello.
That's just fuck. Okay, now Andrew and Speed mute, and we'll see if it does it to me.
What now?
Okay.
I said you mute Speed, and you mute Andrew, and we'll see if it does it to me. Is it robot-y or is it normal?
No, it's normal.
That's just fucking weird.
Yes,
that is really weird.
I'm special. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead, Speed.
Like I said, man, StreamYard is just subpar streaming technology. I'm sorry, it is.
Okay, so what blew me away is when when you go out and try to track down their sources, it just fucking kills me when they do stuff like this. Like they refer to this Ebersberger paper in 2007, and then they say the researchers stated, okay, they have this quote here, right? That quote's not anywhere. If you Google that quote entirely, the only place you're going to find it is in this article. They fucking made it up. And not only that, but parts of it, like one or two words, are actually in Ebersberger's paper. Unless they were looking at a draft version, but which I doubt, because this was published like, when the fuck did they publish this? God, they lie through their teeth. And why is it okay
what
for
would you expect
Christians to lie? I don't understand that.
Well, lying is wrong unless you're lying for Jesus.
Yeah,
basically.
I'm just absolutely amazed. I mean, when they quote something like this and they refer to the paper, I would expect this quote to actually be in the paper. Why would they do this? I was just saying, Argatha, this quote that is in Creation Com, it's not in the paper that they're referencing at all. It doesn't exist. You can search.
The paper was revised since they found it, when they originally found it.
Well,
I don't know how this stuff works.
Okay, the paper was published in 2007. So how do I find out when this was published? Do they list their publication date down here? Do
they?
Probably not. Okay, 2015. That's when a comment came up. So I'm guessing that this is from 2015. So they have no excuse. I mean, you want to make excuses for them? They don't have one. They lied.
Well,
you
okay.
can't
To be
lie.
fair, I'm not trying to make excuses. I just like when I see something, and I think that somebody's being dishonest, I try to look for an explanation where I don't have to accuse them.
I guess I would if I hadn't found so many of these false quotes that in creation.com. I mean, it's happened over and over and over again. Because here's what happens. Okay, they reference the paper, and I think they actually did reference a paper down here. Let's see. Yeah. So, but normally, like when I take stuff off Standing for Truth slides, I'll go out and I'll search for this, or I'll search for the actual text, and then I usually find to try to find a paper. But when I can't, and instead a creation.com site comes up, then I go ahead and I check the paper and find out if they actually quoted it. But I mean, there's nothing even remotely related to that quote other than he's talking about incomplete lineage sorting, but I don't even think they called it that back in 2007. And they also had an incomplete chimpanzee genome. So I'm guessing that I would next contact this author and find out what he has to say about his work back in 2007 and if he's updated it at all. But that drives me crazy when I can't find sources. I don't know. Anyway, what? How do you think it went tonight?
Who are you asking?
I'm asking Andrew.
Oh, yeah. It was a good chat. I feel like I wasn't maybe as focused as I could have been because, like I said, I was getting kind of blinking out at certain points. But I think it was a good cordial chat. I need to give SFT credit that he is a good person to have a discussion with. Just I disagree with him on a lot of points. So, but how about you, Leo? What do you think?
Yeah, I thought it was a decent discussion. There was one part where Stanley had a slide up, and that's Stanley as in the name, not Stanley Speed. Stanley, that's what we're calling him now. Brought up a slide that had a bunch of titles on it. It was making some argument, and I read just the titles because that's really all that was up there. And I'm just like, I can read these titles and know that this paper is definitely not making the point that you think it's making.
Yeah. That's a
Can you give an example?
The point, well, no, because I can't remember any of the papers. I didn't memorize any of the titles. But the big point here is, how wrong do you have to be when you can literally just read the title and know that the paper isn't going to agree with you? But it's not the first time I've experienced that.
If I could make some claims here,
go ahead.
I would think that if I were a creationist that was going to go into a debate and I was doing research, I would want to look at the opposite side's arguments, and I would quote their own sources. So I would look for what I'm trying to get at is I think it's possible that they are looking at what the article says and not agreeing with what the person says that wrote the article, but taking data from that article, making their own conclusions. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's that's what they do. But I mean, that's subjective interpretation.
The problem with that is that papers are already so specified in what they're trying to conclude that to come to a different conclusion than what is outlined in the paper probably means that you misrepresented or misinterpreted something in that paper.
So John says, okay, in about 10 seconds, he found a 2006 paper on, so incomplete lineage sorting was prior to 2007. But if you look at this paper that was used as an example of incomplete lineage sorting, let me see here. Where is it? Trying to find the paper. Let's see. I don't know where the paper is. Robert Miner. Okay, MSM. Okay, Ebersberger,
Why am I not
2000.
updated on chat?
Hang on a second. We'll open it up. Here we go. Let's search for lineage sorting.
So,
It actually does have it as a keyword. Let me see here. Yep, he does talk about incomplete lineage sorting. Or no, he doesn't actually. Lineage sort. Okay. Keywords lineage sorting. I'm trying to find it.
yeah, I found the one that I think John is referencing.
Maybe search for lineage.
Do you want me to send it to you? I can put it in the side chat.
Yeah, it's not in this paper. There's nothing about incomplete lineage sorting in this paper. He says lineage a number of times. He uses the word sorting a couple times.
Click on the link that I put in the private chat there, Speed, and tell me if that's the same paper you're looking at.
Ebersberger? Let's see.
No, this one's Wayne P. Madison and L. Lacey Knowles. 01 February 2006. Inferred phylogeny despite incomplete lineage sorting.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine.
I'm assuming that this one is the one.
Yeah, but the paper, keywords lineage sorting is one of the keywords. Does he do lineage sorting in one word? I'm trying to find out if he even refers to that. Let's see. Lineages. Nope, he does not. Furthermore, the sorting of such, and yeah, I guess he's referring to it, but not exactly in that way, which is interesting, I think. Who knows when?
Because if you read the title, inferring phylogeny despite incomplete lineage sorting, it seems to state, and just by skimming the abstract, that he's talking about, incomplete lineage sorting can be a problem, but there's also methods for overcoming that problem that can still help us to infer phylogenies.
This is the paper that they referenced. This is the one that basically they referenced and pretended to quote from and didn't quote from. And if you search for lineage sorting, you don't find it. So it doesn't mention it. That was my point. I'm not sure when the term came up.
Oh, that is not. No. Okay.
Anyway, it's a different paper. So I have problems with that kind of inaccuracy.
Oh, wait, what is the point of bringing up incomplete lineage sorting? That it means that we just can't do phylogeny or something?
Yeah, well, incomplete lineage sorting can throw you off if you're if you do phylogeny on one gene and then you do it on another gene. Sometimes they don't match up, so sometimes your phylogenetic trees do not match, and you have to go a little bit wider and you have to look at more data to figure out what is going on exactly.
Right, you need to incorporate many different characters in your analysis.
Yeah, I mean it's trees.
Which makes sense, at least to me.
Yeah, phylogeny is a very difficult project. So, and it's standing for truth. How about that shit? No galloping. No galloping.
The Gallop Master is in the house.
No galloping allowed.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? I'm here for the party.
Hey, Standing.
Hey, good to see you. Bob, Leo in the house. Rational Empiricist. I feel like we just talked for 3 hours.
Hello, everyone.
How goes it, David?
Hey, Leo. How you doing?
Welcome to the party. The party.
Hey, Rational. Are you the Andrew that friended me on Facebook after the last time we talked?
I don't use Facebook.
Yeah.
All right, it's somebody else.
David,
Smart man.
His name was Andrew, and he friended me right after our discussion. And I was like, oh, I was just talking to an Andrew. Somebody else.
David.
Yes.
I think I know you. Haven't we had 15 debates in the past?
Oh no, the Antichrist is here, everybody.
By the way,
it's Grace. I was gonna tell you, David. So what we should do? Here's my idea, and tell me what you think.
Okay.
Because I just got your message in the chat. Because we've had so many debates, and you've taken a leadership role in Team Dodgeball. I'm playing with you, but what we should do for our next debate is maybe if you want, we can contact Modern Day Debate. Because we've had so many, we should make this we should advertise this like Avengers Endgame, where it's like
Oh, I love that.
everything you've said in the past, everything I've said in the past. Now we take it all for one big final round. Not that it has to be the final round, but we can advertise it like that, and I think
Yeah,
it'll be fun.
I would love to do an unboxing debate. I would love to go back. I think our very first debate was on MDD.
It
Just
was.
pick a topic. Just pick a topic. By the way, what did you think of the analysis that I did on Jeanson's paper?
Jensen. Remind me who that is. I've never Jensen. Isn't he that evolutionist?
Yeah, he's an evolutionary biologist.
Is he? He's good buddies. He's good buddies with that Dr. Dan Stern Cardinal, right? They went to school together.
Yep.
No,
Okay,
I've got a lot of thoughts on it, but I don't want to spoil my thoughts because Ron, Matt, and we're going to do a respectful analysis of it. Probably we were going to do it tomorrow, but probably
You and
Sunday.
Bert, Matthew?
David.
Okay, that's fair.
Standing, I have to correct you.
Yes, go ahead.
It can't be Avengers because Superman is DC.
Yep.
Oh,
So,
yes.
that being said, what do you
I'm
want?
I'm more of a DC fan, anyways.
So, standing
no.
what do you actually want our next discussion or debate to actually be on?
Well, wait a minute. I just made Bob rage quit. I'm a Marvel fan too, but if I turn my webcam on right now, you'd see more DC collectibles. Put it that way. So, David, I think the topic should be it should be something like universal ancestry versus independent origins, because that's kind of the issue that we've been discussing all of these
Yeah, I
years
like
of
that.
debate.
I like
Yeah,
that
but
idea.
how can you even debate that?
Yeah, and by the way, standing.
What scientific evidence could differentiate between the 2 points of view?
Wait, which 2 points of view?
Between common ancestry and what'd you call it, Standing?
Common descent.
Well, I call it independent origins. It's just another.
Yeah.
It's my way of describing the special creation of Adam, Eve, and the original biblical kinds.
Right.
Yeah,
So I'm
that'd be a lot of
asking.
fun. And it'll also be fun to kind of rehash maybe one of our old debates on Adam and Eve or whatever. I have a lot of new stuff on that and some stuff that I want to bring up. And
I think if it's going to be like the Avengers Endgame, where you're Thanos and I'm Captain America, it has to fully encompass all of the
that'll be fun.
hanging issues that we've discussed, especially go ahead, David.
Yeah, so basically, biblical creation versus universal common ancestry. That way, I can go in and tear some of the biblical framework apart. And,
so let's do that, right? The biblical creation versus universal common ancestry, and then Bob and I can debate DC versus Marvel. What's better?
Yeah. By the way, I'm standing. Did you see the Wonder Woman?
Marvel is better. I mean,
I did, David.
we have to debate this.
We got to debate it. I want some empirical evidence, Bob. I want some testable predictions.
Speed, you turned your camera on. There's nothing but just a black screen, just so you know.
Yeah. By the way, I'm standing.
Really?
Really? I'm seeing nothing.
Yeah. So standing. Why don't you?
I can see myself.
We
I
can't
don't know.
see you.
Stop.
Well, you got to remember, when
David,
you fall into a black
David,
hole,
that's
because of the
question.
differences in how you measure it, of course you would see yourself and we wouldn't see you. It's just relativity.
By the way, I'm standing.
Speed following a black hole.
Since I can't get a hold of James, I'm trying to set up a couple things with Smokey on there, but he hasn't responded, so maybe he'll respond to you.
I'll message him. I talk to him frequently on Facebook, and I'll approach him with a good marketing strategy. I'll say, hey, listen, we've got the leader of Team Evolution, David Neff, and SFT. They've debated 10 times, and now it's Endgame, baby. It's going to get a lot of views. Everybody's going to be there. How could he say no to that?
Yeah, of course, exactly. No, of course, it doesn't have to be And of course, doesn't have to be our absolute last debate or conversation with each other, but
exactly. It wouldn't be the last. It would just be like a fun way to advertise it.
Yeah.
Standing.
StreamYard
Yes.
sucks.
The fact that you are comparing or you're naming your event after a Marvel movie proves that Marvel is better than DC.
Well, I mean, I can't really name it Dawn of Justice. That wouldn't fit.
Yeah. Anyway, guys.
Because nobody cares.
Anyway, as a good to see you. It is it's 1:15 my time. I'm going to bed pretty soon. But since you popped in, I just wanted to come in and run that by you.
Come on, David. Get a coffee. Get a pot of coffee going. Party with us.
I'm
just kidding. You get some sleep. Don't be like the rest of us and forsake sleep. Because Speed must be like me. He must not get much sleep because he's up all night.
To your phone.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I think that'll be fun, Dave. And your other question, WW84. Yeah, I watched it. I thought it was really good. I loved it.
So did I. My partner and I saw it on Christmas, and we both really liked it.
Say,
I had to spend $30 to rent it, but it was worth it.
Hey, Stanley.
$30.
Stanley.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was premiered on my Xbox. I've got the film, the film and apps app, I guess you'd call it, and you know those movies, Drace. They're releasing them ahead of time, the ones that should be in theater. So yeah, you gotta. Well, Drace, have you watched it? Did you get to? What did you do? Pirate it?
Yeah. So I mean, I watched Wonder Woman 84. I like the first one better, just because I thought Ares was a better villain than this like wish granting guy.
I agree.
Yeah, but he was pretty funny. He was pretty funny. It could always be better.
I think it'll be a lot of fun.
I mean, I love the bad guy was a good character.
Anyway, guys, I am off to bed. Good talk to you, Standing.
Bye, David. Hey, Stanley. Stanley. Can you guys hear me?
Do I hear? Do I hear?
Because you can't see me. But anyway, we had the same problem. But if me and Leo had to both mute. And then Andrew sounded like he was underwater. Same goddamn thing.
I was worried because I was looking so forward to this conversation. Okay. Yeah. And then the second he started his presentation, he had some good slides. You know, I love when people bring slides and stuff and some good arguments. And I was thinking, no, he can't be roboting out the whole time. But to fix it, just unmute yourself.
Yeah, but I think if all of us mute ourselves, like we would all have to mute ourselves, and then he would start to gurgle again. And the other thing is I had my camera on, and it showed on my screen for StreamYard, but it doesn't show on the stream. But everybody else's camera's working fine. So, like, I think I'm going to quit paying these people.
Speed, how long have I been harping on you to start using OBS Studio?
I know, Leo. I know, Leo.
I've only noticed it happening with Rational Empiricist, and it was
in my video.
Huh?
My video too is screwed up tonight. So. I mean, if I put my video on, you guys see a black screen. I see my video, and I'm looking at the StreamYard page, and it's fine there, but not on the stream.
So overall, when we realized, when me, through my critical thinking skills, realized that, hey, if I stay unmuted the whole time, then Empiricist sounds good. After that, the sound improved for the majority of the discussion. It was good for you guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. As long as you didn't mute. And we had exactly the same results. That's really bizarre.
Yeah, you guys tried that. I got a kick out of that.
I can't believe my camera isn't working. It's weird. This is weird shit.
Hey, Speed, you want to know why I was making a gurgling sound?
Why? You're a walker?
No, because I was drowning in the awkwardness of the situation.
Drowning in misinformation.
Speed, according to evolution, things are supposed to improve. Things are supposed to get better on their own. There's fighting words.
No. There's nothing in evolution about improvement. Nothing ever. Never was. Never has been.
Never.
And what is natural selection about? Doesn't natural selection select the beneficial traits?
it changes things to adapt to an environment normally.
Right.
Well, it
Natural
changes
selection
things,
doesn't change things; it selects things.
it will filter things. Yes, if something doesn't work, it will die.
It does change
there's
something. It
nothing about
changes the populations.
Stop.
Nothing about improvement.
Speed, I said
Improvement is
stop. You know what
bullshit.
stop means?
Huh?
Do you know what stop means?
Speed.
Natural selection selects what's already there, Speed.
Speed. Can you check your phone?
Can I what?
Right.
Check your
The
phone.
other
and-
part is mutation. The problem with mutation is that they're by and large bad.
They're actually by and large neither good nor bad.
Ooh, fighting words from Leo. Bob, what do you say to that? I'll moderate.
Oh, okay.
Neither good
So
nor
you
bad.
say that the vast majority are neither good nor bad.
Yes.
I'll grant you that. Outside of those, what percentage is bad versus good?
I don't know.
I mean, because natural selection ignores the neutral genes, does it not? Is that correct?
I
Yes.
think so, but I'm not for sure.
Essentially.
Okay, so then what is the percentage to good traits that are selected versus bad traits that stay?
I actually don't know, but if I had to guess, I would assume that for different populations, that percentage is probably going to be different.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, if we're going to
relative-
make assumptions, I would assume that the bad genes would accumulate faster than the good genes. So I think we might need to have a scientific study here.
I think it comes down to the rarity of truly beneficial mutations. As in, question for Speed of Sound, my boy, I guess. At the top of your head, what is the rate of beneficial mutations? Would you say, is it 1 in 10,000, 1 in 100,000, 1 in 500,000? You know, what's the latest literature tell us about that?
In what context? Are you talking about like in over the period of a couple of days? Or are you talking about mutations that may be beneficial 1,000 years from now?
Generations.
Generations.
Yeah. Wait.
Who knows the rate?
You mentioned traits that may be beneficial generations from now.
Yes.
So are you trying to lump in? Are you trying to lump in neutral mutations with potentially in the future beneficial mutations?
Exactly.
Okay, and this goes back to what I was saying is, if there are neutral mutations, and there are bad mutations and there are good mutations, I think we need to ignore the neutral mutations and look at how many of across all the board, how many are good, how many are bad, because a neutral mutation could eventually become a good mutation or a bad mutation.
Right.
And bad mutations will drop out of the gene pool immediately.
Speed.
That's not necessarily true.
It's necessarily true. If the organism can't survive, it won't survive.
Okay, let's say, well, not necessarily. Let's look at humans, for example. If you're born with a deformed ear, does that mean that you will never be able to breed?
Are you making fun of my deformed ear, Bob?
I don't think I've ever seen your face standing.
Oh, I was scared for I thought I accidentally went on webcam. I'm very self-conscious over that deformed ear. Just kidding. Go ahead, Speed. Answer the
Let's
question.
look at beetles. If one is born with a deformed leg, what is his
What
chance
happens to the beetle?
of putting his genes into the future?
Very low.
Okay,
Well,
you're looking at
lower
humans
than
or
others.
Class. What's that?
Lower than others,
lower
but
than
not
others.
it doesn't necessarily mean that they won't ever get. So, like, if you're looking at the transition over time from a front limb to a wing,
Yep.
necessarily somewhere along the line, it's going to be detrimental to have some transition between a front limb and a wing. So somehow that had to have been, though it was detrimental at the time, that species continued to reproduce as it slowly evolved until it attained something closer to a wing, where then it was functional. Right?
So if I could throw one in on that one, I would say that since natural selection operates in degrees, if the mutation is so deleterious, if it's extremely deleterious, it'll end up causing the extinction of the organism. But if it's only deleterious to a degree, it might be able to function in the environment and pass its genes on to the next generation. But that next generation, it will be less in number because, according to natural selection, it's not reproducing as much. And so in that next generation, there's less of that to work with, and they're even less likely now to pass themselves on to the following generation. So that would be like one thing in terms of, hold up there. That would be one thing in terms of certain features that aren't perfect for their environment. They might be slightly detrimental, but able to skirt by. But then there's another situation in which there's no detrimental feature at all. It's the traits corresponding exactly with the environment where it's a beneficial situation all the way through.
Right.
Yeah,
Sure, but
and
I'm
that
thinking
could lead
more
to
of
something where, like, a beetle with a bad leg, it might survive and create progeny, but then its progeny aren't able to, say, get to food as quickly as others, so they could potentially just be out-competed out of existence rather than the mutation itself being directly correlated with the extinction. It could be
Yes, as the
mutation leads to
well, on a level, we're thinking too high level, right? We're thinking about legs. And mutations, I don't think generally function at such a high level so quickly. We're talking about, slow changes over time. So what about some sort of mutation that causes potentially some sort of, so like sickle cell anemia, right? It doesn't stop them from breeding. It doesn't stop them from surviving long enough to be able to breed. That doesn't necessarily get selected out.
Well, no,
Wait a minute.
sickle cell anemia was originally a beneficial trait because it prevented malaria, and that's why you found it in people who lived in sub-Saharan Africa.
There's a beneficial side that it doesn't let you get malaria, but that's like saying if I chop off my hands, or if I'm born with no hands, then cops can't handcuff me. It's
real quick. I'll yield after this. People with the sickle cell trait, what they actually have, and I don't think anyone's going to disagree with this, they have a broken gene and a broken protein. Literally, the red blood cells in those that have sickle cell anemia are so defective to the point where malaria can now not thrive in the person with this condition. But none of us here would want sickle cell anemia. So yeah, it might be beneficial in the context of some people in Africa.
Yeah, that's what I was referring to, is that, I mean, if you're living in sub-Saharan Africa 15,000 years ago, sickle cell anemia would probably be more beneficial than not.
Even
right, but would you can you agree that sickle cell anemia is bad?
Well, today, yes. In the modern environment, yes. And that's
not in Africa.
The trait can be good, and then an environment can change, and now that you're in a different environment, what you were adapted for no longer works, so now it's no longer a good trait. Or a trait that really didn't do anything now is either good or bad because there's been a change in the environment.
Sure, but to be sure, I'm just using an example to drive home a point. There are necessarily mutations that could provide detrimental effects after breeding age. I don't see how those are selected out.
You don't see how
after breeding age? If it's after breeding age,
we don't care.
Right, because if it's after breeding age, then it's not going to get sent into the next population. You're weeding it out by definition when you say that, because it's past breeding age. It's not breeding it out.
No.
Stop.
I think you're misunderstanding.
By definition.
So if you have a mutation that will, like lupus, right? Lupus doesn't take effect until later in your lifetime. So you reach breeding age before the side effects or the detrimental effects of lupus start to affect your body. You still are capable of breeding. Now, today, maybe a wise person would say, oh, well, I have this so that I should avoid having children so I don't pass it on. But, animals don't care. They don't think. They just think, okay,
why would evolution care? Why would evolution care if you reach if
It doesn't.
if it affects you after breeding age, and you breed and you put those genes out? It has no effect on animals in evolution. They're still going to reproduce. They're still going to produce those genes, right? And they're going to have a gene that you consider defective because it prevents them from reaching old age. Okay. If we had
not necessarily
we would have a
produce it.
social security problem. We should
Yeah,
have more of
Can
those.
you say that again? I talked over you and I didn't hear what you said.
Okay. If it doesn't take effect till after reproductive age, okay, so the animal can reproduce, it makes absolutely no difference to evolution or the survival of that species. In fact, if humans had more of those, then we wouldn't have a social security problem today, would we?
Speed,
Right.
We would die at 22.
Can you guys hear me?
We should.
Yes.
Can you guys
We can hear you
But
fine.
who cares? You're making this judgment that getting some sort of a disease in old age is a problem. It is not. It's how life works.
Speed,
I was
between overall.
I was making a
fitness?
point.
Okay.
By definition, Speed, and then I'll yield. I just want to ask this question. By definition, these neutral mutations that we're talking about, okay, it would be my position that they're still going to have some type of effect overall on genotype, whether it's really, really subtle, okay, to fitness.
Very tiny. Yeah.
Okay. So let's, for the sake of argument, just say it's only got a very tiny effect on genotype, okay? But by definition, what are these neutral mutations, okay, whether they're nearly neutral or strictly neutral? What are they then subject to?
They're good. They're only subject to drift.
Right. That's the right answer, genetic drift.
And it doesn't matter because until they have an effect, they are not going to affect anything.
No, because by the time they have too much of an effect, because you gave the right answer, they're only subject to genetic drift. By the time they have too much of an effect, let's say the human population, okay, to wipe out the entire human population, since every single generation has accumulated more of these nearly neutral mutations than the generation before it, okay, you can't wipe out every single person, then you've got extinction. So yeah, you could wipe out the worst of the lot, but because these nearly neutral mutations are only subject to drift, as you have just admitted, that means you can only ever slow down the process because of genetic drift.
And you're thinking about it all wrong. There's a neutral mutation that's out there. The chances of that gene getting hit twice in 10 million years, pretty low. And if it does get hit twice and it becomes a problem, and now it becomes a detrimental mutation and it kills the animal, then it will disappear from the genome. And now on the other hand, if it becomes beneficial or it fits into some biochemical pathway or some developmental pathway, then it will become a variation in the population. Okay. You're looking at this like you're looking at it like an accountant would look at it. And that's not the proper way to look at it. You have to think in terms of how much of that 3 billion nucleotides get hit by these mutations, and how often a mutation would change it would be additive. Okay, you do this additive thing and it doesn't work. It doesn't make sense in genetics. And that's why
on a level it does, and on a level it doesn't. But I understand what you're saying, but
okay, I want to make one other point. Extinctions do happen, and there is a way basically for things to add up so that an extinction happens. That can, it does, and it will happen. Okay, we're not saying it doesn't. It's just that it doesn't happen to every single life form.
As far as I understand,
well, let me just respond.
Extinctions occur because populations drop to the point that the population necessarily must inbreed, which I find ironic because the problem with inbreeding is that you have a greater chance of passing on your mutations.
There's other ways for extinctions to happen.
But I'll come back. I got to.
Inbreeding is a major one, though.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
so I just want to. Yeah, so
I'll say this, and then I'll yield. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, all right, go ahead, Standing.
No, well, because Speed addressed a couple of things I said. I'll just say this, and then I'll yield then, because we could have an entire debate on this. Because Speed was saying by the time these nearly neutral mutations that only have a very tiny effect on genotype, okay, you correctly pointed out, yes, we've got a genome of 3 billion letters, okay, 3 billion from mom, 3 billion from dad. If you take out, as you're saying, Speed, you take out one letter or change one nucleotide randomly, we would agree you're not going to have a huge effect overall on genotype. But yes, it does build up. But here's the problem. You said, once it built, well, real quick, you said eventually it'll build up to where it's detrimental and the natural selection or Mother Nature can see it. No, by the time it does build up to that point, Mother Nature now has to remove the entire population. That's the problem. We don't all just hang out
Build up. Define
on
build
this
up.
earth. We spread out.
Yeah, no,
we migrate. We take those mutations with us.
Yeah, I don't think that that's true. What I would say to that is that you're suggesting that it kind of sneaks in the back door, and then when it's like an extinction level event, bam, it shows its face.
I'll sneak in your back door.
How many genetic related diseases are currently in the human population? They're slowly building up.
I wanted to get my thoughts out there before anybody else jumps on. But I just wanted to say that, the second that there's any effect on that phenotype, any genuine effect, natural selection is going to begin to operate. When you build up all those mutations, eventually you're going to have some situation where it's affecting phenotype. The second that it does, that's when natural selection kicks in. It doesn't get to hide behind the scenes forever until it's extinction worthy.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah, I'd be pretty sure about that.
So okay, well, you said that as those mutations start to come in, they start to get removed by natural selection, right?
Yeah.
So how do you explain this massive number of genetic related diseases that's growing in the human population currently? That's unaffected by natural selection.
In the current human population, natural selection is being muted through industrialization, through healthcare. We don't have natural selection acting on our population in the same way that wild populations do. We are muting the effect of natural selection, which is why it's not surprising to see.
So hold on, Drace. Hold on. Slow down. Let me clarify. So you're not denying the fact that they're accumulating. You're saying that because of human intervention in the medical field, we're being able to prevent natural selection from working.
Yeah, we prevent those people from dying.
Okay, so that's cool. So you just admitted genetic entropy.
So
I didn't, because your genetic entropy. No, I did not admit genetic entropy because your genetic entropy thesis applies to the whole world, even when natural selection is in operation. Right. It's this thesis that all of life is degrading down inevitably, which is not the way that it works. You can point to a particular population in which you've muted natural selection, it's not working. And in that population, it's not surprising if there's going to be mutation of slightly deleterious mutations over time.
I don't understand how you can have it both ways, though, because you can't have an accumulation. You can't have an Can I speak? You can't have an accumulation that you just acknowledged, right? You said that the human medical intervention is what's preventing these things, natural selection, from working. That's fine, but that doesn't speak about the fact that we are accumulating these diseases.
Yes, it does.
And that's the point. Well, no, you've got an acute. So, do you know how many diseases are currently in the human population?
If natural selection was working, they wouldn't be accumulating because the people that have them would just be continuously dying.
Okay, so let's go with that. Let's go with that. Let's go with that.
Only if it's bad enough that they can't pass on their genes.
How many?
And real quick, because technically what Drace is saying is, okay, if I have kids who are born with a deformed right leg, where the right leg's a little shorter than the left, let's say, okay? That's not going to essentially prevent my kids from now passing on their genes, okay, and having children, and passing on those mutations. But if a zebra or a gazelle in the wild is born with a deformed, degenerated right leg that's shorter than the left, well, guess what? It's not going to get too far in the wild because the lion is going to come after that zebra first. So essentially in the wild, chances are that zebra with the deformed right leg, he ain't going to be passing on his genes. In the human population, because we take care of the sick, we've kind of muted levels of selection. Someone born with a deformed leg can still essentially pass on their genes with all the good and all the bad mutations with it.
Yep.
I just woke up my wife, and now I'm in trouble.
Oh, yeah, you bad
Sorry.
boy.
So I'm running and hiding. Okay, so my question is, how many genetic related diseases are currently in the population? And this doesn't matter if natural selection is removing them or not. It's the fact that there is an accumulation taking place. So how many of you guys can tell me how many are currently in the human population?
Okay.
You
hang on
gave
a
the
second.
figure. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Speed.
Yep. So number one, okay, we have a very, very large population of human beings. Okay, we got what 8 or 9 billion, and we have 25,000 or 50,000 genetic diseases that they've identified. Most of those
there's way more.
Don't
Sorry.
interrupt me. Most of those take effect after reproductive age. They don't matter. Like if you're talking about diseases that happen when you're 50 or 60 years old, they have nothing to do with evolution. This has nothing to do with evolution. Human beings have very little to do with evolution because we do keep our wounded. We don't shoot our wounded, right? And that's going to throw this off a bit. But when you talk about accumulating mutations, how many people do you know that are born with two or three genetic diseases, or 20? I mean, how many people do you know that have more than one genetic disease?
Most people I know have some type of problem with
so
it. These days. I mean,
so Speed, I'm glad that you said that, because that's another road that I want to go down. But I'd like to just quick correct you. Currently, there is 214,158 genetic diseases in the human population, and there is 6,000 that they are identifying every 3 months.
Damn, we're good at that then. We're really good at identifying.
Okay, so but here's the $1 million question for you. How do you get 214,000 genetic related diseases if there's no such thing as genetic entropy? If the human genome isn't breaking down, how do you accumulate that many?
I just explained that to you.
Okay, the proper question is, how do you get that many? Okay, we're over talking each other. Drace, was that you? I'll let you go.
Okay, yeah, I mean, that was the whole point of my explanation, talking about the muting of natural selection in the human population. Because if you have that, then you can accumulate all those mutations that you're talking about. But the whole question about genetic entropy comes down to whether or not this is something that applies irrespective of parameters. It's something that applies to the whole living world, irrespective of what's going on, including whether or not natural selection is in operation. And that's where I stomp my foot down, because I'm not convinced that that's true at all. When I see natural selection in operation, I see something that's a very strong force. To just give you a quick example, with the example of the peppered moth, the dominant gene for that was the lighter hue color. But in the industrial niche that they were found in, nevertheless, the darker hued peppered moth outnumbered the dominant gene lighter hue by a ratio of 3 to 1.
Okay, that means nothing. That means nothing. Let me explain why that means nothing. Because the peppered moth generation time and generation population is way different than the humans. And another thing is, when they reproduce, they might have better copying mechanisms than humans. So no one really cares about the moth respectively. However, you did, in the same breath as you explained away genetic entropy, you have to first acknowledge it before you can explain it away. So you can't explain it away and then say, therefore it doesn't exist. No, you have to first acknowledge it, which you did. And if you don't believe me, there's a paper on it. I mean, it's not, you can see there. I mean, the number that I didn't just make it up.
Who wrote
And
the paper?
Speed.
I would just say that you're confused about a lot of what I just
Did
said.
you tell me to stop?
I heard
make
what you
one
said,
point,
Drace,
no,
but the
you-
peppered moth doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Well, first of all,
Humans
the
don't
peppered moth-
populate at the same rate.
Yeah, it
You
doesn't
got a
matter
bigger
because the thing
problem.
is that, first of all, when you're talking about genetic entropy, you're talking about a situation that's supposed to apply irrespective of reproductive rate, irrespective of natural selection, irrespective of any parameter. It does not matter. Genetic entropy says that this living
No,
world is
that's not
breaking
true.
down. Yes,
That's
it
false.
is. That's the whole point. The whole
No,
point
it's
of
not.
it is that there is no mechanism
Don't
by
overtalk.
which populations can escape eventual error catastrophe or genetic decline. That's the whole point of the argument. So you don't get to say, oh, well, you point out how strong natural selection is in all these wild populations. That doesn't matter because I don't care about those populations. But the thesis as it was originally put forward encompasses all life, irrespective of all your specific parameters. It's actually my point that I bring up how this is dependent upon specific parameters and doesn't apply to all life. And therefore, genetic entropy is false because it is a thesis that does apply to all of life.
Okay,
Let me
that's an
respond.
equivocation fallacy.
What did he
You're
equivocate?
That's how I
That's an
understand it.
Okay, clearly, I already explained. I'll try it one more time. How often do humans reproduce?
But
We
wait,
produce
what?
much slower than the moth, so we're not. And our copying mechanism is. I'm sure it's not the same as theirs, so it doesn't matter.
So
And are you
genetic-
appealing
so
to
the
the
moth-
exception or the
Hey,
rule?
don't overtalk Sam either.
Speed. Let me
Yeah,
make a couple.
sorry
points
about
real
that,
quick
'cause I
before I forget. Okay.
All right, go
I
ahead.
wanna make- I'll be quick.
Can I think
One
I
point.
might know why redefine is why you guys might be misunderstanding each other. And Sam can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think his point about the generation time being different is because mutations build up over time, irrespective of generations. You gain mutations in your genome from just solar radiation as you grow, and you continue to make sperm as you grow.
So okay, so let's
Well,
just so we're all on
Hey,
the
you guys
same.
wanna hang on a
He's saying
second?
this only happens
Hey,
in
before I
humans?
forget, let me just say one.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Standing
let
for truth
Standing
wants
get in
to
real quick.
talk.
Okay, I just want to address a few points that have been said since Speed and Drace, because I'm writing them down. Okay, for one, I've been trying to point out for the peppered moths, Stupid Whore Energy actually just pointed it out for me, but that's typically just simple Mendelian genetics, dominant and recessive alleles. Those are already in the population. It's just simple allele frequencies in populations over time. But one thing before I forget, Speed, when it comes to cancer rates, when it comes to cancers in general, a lot of them still are based on germ cell line mutations. For example, okay, in the BRCA1 and the BRCA2 genes, those actually increase a woman's risk of different types of cancers. For example, breast cancers, ovarian cancers, and in men, these types of mutations, okay, that are passed down through the germ cell lines, increase the risk of pancreatic cancers in men and women, as well as melanoma. So a lot of cancers are mutation related. Another thing I want to say, and then I'll yield, based on what Drace was saying, okay? When it comes to the thesis of genetic entropy, yes, some populations will degenerate faster, okay, such as humans, because we've essentially muted natural selection. That's why I pointed out that, hey, listen, a zebra born with a shorter leg and a human born with a shorter leg, the human will most likely pass on their genes, the zebra won't, okay? Some populations, therefore, like zebras, elephants, okay, these higher mammals in the animal kingdom will then degenerate slower than, say, humans because essentially they have not muted selection like humans. But I want to say this, okay, consider this. We as humans, though, we still kill each other like crazy through war after war after war and murder after murder after murder. So there's a good chance that it actually balances itself out. That's definitely something to look into. But yes, it is my position. I disagree with Drace. Overall, most populations will eventually degenerate, some slower than others. I yield.
May I respond really quick? I wanted to point out a couple of things. The first is you were saying about the peppered moth example, that it's just basic Mendelian genetics. But my point about that was that because of natural selection, it's the non-dominant gene that gets expressed at a ratio of 3-to-1. I was pointing that out because of the strength that I wanted to emphasize natural selection has as a force for crafting or molding the population. The second thing is you're pointing out, okay, well, humans kill each other, that'll balance things out. Do other populations not have the same intragenic competition where they're killing each other out? I don't understand how that, singles out humans and balances us out.
Well, not quite like the wars.
Exclusive to us. I don't know so much about that. I might be willing to grant that in past times and past ages, we were in a situation where we were killing each other far more often.
There's wars going on today as we speak.
You're right, but when you actually check out the murder rates and the actual rates involved in violence today, like Steven Pinker covers this in depth in his book, The Better Angels of Our Nature, overall violence has declined in the modern world for the human population.
Maybe in certain parts of the world, if you're looking at it in a linear sense. Go over to the Middle East, go over to other continents instead of North America. I mean, you've got people fighting each other like crazy today. You've got many wars going on. Go back however many years to the Cold War, go to World War II, World War I, all these civil wars. I mean, animals in the animal kingdom are not killing each other quite like humans have in terms of world wars. You know,
the technology to do so. You don't see lions developing nuclear fucking warheads.
Right. I agree, Leo. Good point.
Right.
We're not talking necessarily about. We're not talking about warheads, though.
Okay, what I want to say about
warheads, that's true. You don't got lions or zebras or tigers building nuclear weapons and wiping out however many people that they wiped out in Hiroshima. You know what I mean?
How many nuclear warheads have been launched?
Warheads are not.
Well, that's not the point of how many warheads have been launched. It's the points that we have wars, and there's been huge atrocities taking place in our human history.
My point.
The warheads is just an analogy to represent the reality.
We've balanced out as a human civilization. Human populations have balanced out the muting of natural selection. It is I believe that if we look more into that, yes, we've muted natural selection, but based on the wars, the murder, the killings over the years, we've essentially balanced it out to an equilibrium versus the animal kingdom. That's my point.
We don't have
well, no, because the thing is that when you take a look, this is, again, you can find all this in The Better Angels of Our Nature by Steven Pinker. He includes all of the 20th century world wars in his analysis. Now, you're right that in certain segments of the world, there are certain tribal societies that approximate what he calculates for the more ancient rate of warfare and murder in like ancient tribal societies. There are current modern tribal societies that more closely approximate that rate of violence. But globally, like talking about the whole picture, overall globally, violence in the human population has declined according to his numbers.
How many people die a
based off
day?
of the global population of a species, or is it based off of a local population of a species?
He's talking
primarily based off of location.
He's talking globally. He's talking all of humankind, and he's calculating everything that you guys just talked about. He's talking about World War I, World War II. He's talking the dropping of nuclear bombs that have happened so far, which so far we only have 2. You guys are pointing out, hey, we have nuclear bombs. We're capable of so much more violence, but the fact is that we have not used that capacity. For the most part, we dropped in world history. There have only been 2 atomic bombs that have been dropped. But overall, accounting for the entire 20, right? Yes, many people did die. I'm sorry. Let me just get this last part out. Accounting for, and this is on Pinker's analysis. So if you have a problem with it, I would just say find out what you consider to be wrong with Pinker's numbers. But in terms of his analysis, even in accounting for the entire 20th century, all of those devastating wars that you referenced, the level of violence in history is more than what it is in the modern day for the human population. And that is why he and many other people, what they're called, this group, they're calling them the rational optimists these days, because they're heralding our current age as like basically a golden age where violence has declined to such a degree that's actually never been seen before in human history, based on the numbers that they've come up with.
Right. So I would say, and then I'll yield so somebody else can talk. I would agree, just standing back and taking a guess, if we're going to look at a localized time in history, yes, I would say there's less death when it comes to wars and murders than, say, 100 years ago, 200 years ago. I mean, just look to the wars we were discussing, like World War II, World War I, the wars before it, okay? But overall, okay, universally, there has been a lot of death, not necessarily seen in these higher mammals in the animal kingdom, where there is more selection versus humans where there is relaxed selection. Okay, so my point overall, universally, not just a localized time in human history, overall there's been essentially an equilibrium, okay, where that relaxed selection in human populations and a stronger form of selection in the animal kingdom, there's essentially been an equilibrium.
So let's leave.
Yeah, so I mean,
let's leave humans and wars.
Yeah, go ahead, Speed. I'm sorry.
Out of this discussion and talk about animals and evolution.
Wait, can I get back to the point that I was trying to make real quick?
As long as it isn't about human beings.
As long as it's not about human beings?
Right. We're not talking about human beings. They're not a good model for discussing evolution.
They're really not.
Why are you guys talking about them?
Well, this is kind of about both, right? It's about why I said that I don't think it's a fair equivocation. And the reason why is because I think, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, we're like glossing over a lot of things, like such as the size of the genome, how many genes, and also, you know, when humans reproduce, we pick up approximately 100 new mutations, as to where bacteria, when they reproduce, I don't think they really pick up any. I mean, so their copying mechanism is excellent. So unless we've done those studies on those peppered moths, unless we know how compatible their genome is or their gene size or the copying errors when they reproduce, that's what I'm saying. It's not a fair equivocation. And also the generation time for humans, that's a huge factor. You can't compare something that's popping out a bunch of babies in huge population sizes each time they reproduce, and then compare that to humans. How is that accurate in any way?
Well, the problem gets worse then, because when you start to look at species that reproduce at a very high rate, they're the ones that you have the most trouble simulating in Mendel's accountant. Like, for example, on the Peaceful Science Forum, there was some scientist who ran the numbers on the Mendel's accountant simulator using Lenski's experiment, and he was unable to reproduce the population dynamics of the Lenski experiment run. So, I mean, like, when you go that route and start stressing the importance of these other features, where you really start to sound a lot more like an evolutionary biologist, because now it's not genetic entropy applying to the world and degrading everything. Now, whether or not air catastrophe takes place is highly dependent on the circumstance of, like, you know, the environment and the organism and its mutation rates and everything that's involved in that. And so whether or not air catastrophe or genetic entropy will actually occur is something that will be highly dependent upon circumstance rather than something that's inexorable and is going to apply to the whole world. And I did want to get one last point out here with respect to what Standing was saying, because, you know, this is something that I've had a problem with in terms of some of Standing's presentation, is that he makes kind of vague generalities sometimes about quantities. Like, well, we see a lot of violence, you know, but it's not quantified. And I think that that's really important to do for your theory, is to quantify this and to make sure that your numbers make sense. And with respect to the whole, like, you know, you're saying humans exemplify genetic entropy also because of muted selection. My problem, though, is you using humans as evidence for genetic entropy, because what I'm interested in is your thesis that genetic entropy trumps natural selection. You really have an argument then, if that's true. But then you point me to populations where natural selection isn't even in operation. And so I don't see that as good evidence for your thesis. And that's basically what I wanted to say.
Well, you're trying to tie them both together, and I'm trying to separate them. So entropy happens regardless of natural selection.
That's what I'm saying. Is that when you have that as a part of your thesis? I'm sorry.
I can prove entropy. I can prove entropy. I already showed you.
When you say entropy, are you referring to genetic entropy or like actual thermodynamics?
Yeah, genetic entropy, and that's also why I said it was an equivocation fallacy, because we haven't done all of these studies on all of these other things, such as the peppered moth. So it doesn't really matter.
Have.
Well, I mean, unless you're willing to, unless you have all that information and you can show how it's an accurate comparison, it's not an accurate comparison.
I mean, we're studying a lot of other species.
Well, that's fine. And, but as far as like the copying errors, that's huge. If those things aren't picking up 100 mutations and their genome's a different size, then it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if they have more or less entropy. It doesn't matter. I mean, you need to compare. So another point is you have what, 200,000 years since the split from ape to human. Is that about right? Or is that wrong? 150 according to your model?
I'm sorry, did you say about 150,000 from like basal apes to humans? Is that what you were suggesting?
Somewhere between 30 and 100 probably is what we have per generation.
Okay. So that's
problematic.
Well, hold on. Well, that's what I'm saying. So you're saying, hey, look, the humans split 130,000 years ago or whatever. So let's use this moth as an example because they reproduce super fast. And we don't know what the copying errors are like. No, you can't do that.
Why?
Well,
because
really,
we're talking about Jim. They're not. It's an equivocation fallacy. You're comparing one thing that's not an accurate comparison.
Right, because they have more
mutations. Okay, hold on. I think we should let Snake talk because he's been in here for like 10 minutes.
Let's Snake
said anything.
The faster reproducing organisms would have more mutations building up, so it's actually a bigger problem in those populations. If it's a problem, which it's not. But I don't think the pepper moths are even.
I think it's opposite.
That's not true because
if you have mutations per generation, the more generations and more babies you produce, the more mutations you're going to get.
That's not true, Snake.
That is true.
I'm not trying. Okay, I'm not trying to interrupt, but like I just said,
mutations.
Okay, let me say that again. Okay, when bacteria reproduce, their copying mechanism is almost excellent. They don't pick up mutations, so they can reproduce like crazy. Not as fast as humans. It's different.
It's different. Let's say that. About the same. It's about the same. It's very common.
Are you going by generation or are you going by the year? Right, because humans have one generation over 20 years
per generation. So it's like the problem's even like exponentially magnitudes worse in bacteria, and we don't see this problem.
Well, that's not true. Look at the original H1N1. That's mutated itself fully into extinction.
Or we've mutated our immune systems to respond to that.
No, the original virus, the 1918 H1N1, that's gone. Like it's totally dead. The original strand of that virus is fully gone. It's mutated itself out of existence.
It's gone. Existence. Some viruses aren't. What about the viruses that haven't?
Well, so that's my point, Snake. That's exactly my point. Thank you. My point is you're equivocating things,
not mutation rate.
Okay. So you have some viruses that do, and some that don't, and some humans that do, some moths that don't. And so let's just compare all of these things that are not relevant to try to make a point. No, let's not.
I don't think the pepper moth is that relevant here because we should be talking more about population genetics and not just natural selection of two different moth colors.
Peppered moth is irrelevant because peppered moth had both capacity for
my only reason for bringing up the peppered moth was just because it was an interesting case demonstrating the potential strength of selection, which is why I brought up that 3-to-1 ratio. That's the only point that I was making with that. It didn't have any other bearing on the conversation beyond stressing the strength that selection can have as an agent for molding populations.
Sure, but I don't think anybody here is denying natural selection.
Okay, let's
deny.
I do have
Go
a
ahead.
question.
Well, I was going to say, so we can, I mean, for me, and of course, I'm not an expert in anything, right? It seems like we should be comparing things that are relevant. But if you want to compare things that are not relevant, I'm pretty sure that we've fully examined the worms and the fruit flies pretty much, and we've mutated those things as much as we can. And guess what? They're still fruit flies.
They're still fruit flies,
and they're still worms, and they don't change.
Extinct, have they gone extinct?
But have they evolved?
They reproduce at a very, very rapid rate compared to human beings. They have the same amount of mutations. They have not gone extinct.
Actually, I have a question about that experiment.
But have they evolved?
I don't know exactly what
yes,
they did.
They have.
Into what?
Fruit flies.
Okay.
Different species.
It doesn't help.
Well, give them time.
That's an equivocation fallacy, right?
What is
you're equivocating micro and macro. You're saying because we see one thing change a little bit.
There really isn't a demarcation between them. Macroevolution is what happens when microevolution has been occurring in a population for hundreds of thousands of years.
That's an assumption. You're begging the question.
It's actually not an assumption. It's
evidence. Yeah, you are. You have to assume evolution to say that.
You don't. We don't assume evolution.
You assume evolution to say that. Are you assuming hundreds of thousands of years?
Well,
what's being
assumed?
Okay, so that's an assumption.
And for well over 100,000 years.
Do you know what they were before they were fruit flies?
Do I?
No, yeah, you're begging the question. You're assuming evolution, and you're assuming this process has gone on.
You're assuming that evolution has to be assumed in the first place, and it doesn't. Evolution is a fact, whether you accept it or not.
So it's not science?
Okay, so why?
Is a fact falsifiable?
Yeah, you can falsify facts.
Then it's not a fact.
Well, it is.
And evolution, no, you can't falsify a fact.
Wait, hold on. Quick question. Why are you turning this into a semantics discussion?
No, I'm not. I'm just calling. I mean, if you're going to say something.
You actually kind of are. Like you're going off on about what I mean by fact. I think you know what I mean by fact.
No, I don't. It's not a fact. No,
it is a fact.
Hey, Leo, can I help?
Hold on. Okay, look. If it's a fact, then it can't be falsified. Well, if it can't be falsified, it's not science.
Well, technically,
yes,
right? And science doesn't come to a fact. Science comes to a conclusion based on the information, and new information will change that. So it's not a fact. Don't say it's a fact. It's not a fact. Well, it's not a fact.
Wait, so you're saying that evolution doesn't comport with reality?
A fact cannot be falsified.
That's not what I asked you. Are you saying evolution doesn't comport with the observations that we've made? It doesn't comport with reality. Because it does. That's what a fact is. A fact is that which comports with reality.
No, a fact is something that cannot be falsified.
No, that's literally not the definition of fact. I can go look it up right now, and that's not the definition I'm going to.
Why are you two going down?
I think I can help here because you guys are getting off on a tangent.
Why are we turning this into a semantics?
I agree with our doctor.
Yeah, it's semantics. Okay, so a fact cannot be falsified because all of the potential falsifications that were presented for it have been proven to be the opposite. It hasn't been falsified. That's why it's a fact.
You can falsify something you think is a fact. You can falsify something you think is a fact.
Hey, could I ask Danny for truth a question? Could you get your buddy Jason Ezzard to get the hell out of my studio and
we'll just kick him out? Just kick him out.
I've kicked him out about 20 times. I'm getting tired of it.
Oh, come on. I love that guy.
I also had a quick question for Standing. Standing, I was just wondering if you ever gave him.
Because he was cursing.
Okay. So I wanted to ask Standing really quick if he's given any more thought to the whole koala situation that I asked him about. Him and Erica have been debating about genetic diversity and the demarcation line between humans and apes, and talking about differences between the kinds. And she gave this example of koala bears and Standing basically was responding that he thinks that the koala bear may not belong to the bear kind. And I wanted to, to hear a little bit more about what you had to say about that. He might have gone. He might be like busy or something.
Yeah, he said he's up
talking about Standing.
If he is,
I have questions.
That question was for Standing.
Hold on, really quickly, because I know this is annoying speed. Instead of hitting the kick from studio button, hit the ban from studio button, and he should.
If I do, it wants me to register all of you. It says I can't do that unless I register all of you.
What does it mean when it says register all of us?
I don't know. That means
then
all of you.
Then put everybody that's in here backstage, ban him from the studio, and then bring us back in.
I don't think I can even do that without authorizing. I'm not sure. I don't know.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, fuck it. Just let him sit there and wait.
Yeah, I mean, like maybe just ignore that he's there.
I'll just ignore that he's there.
I don't know what it looks like on your end, so
I've got a white marker and I'll just scratch over my monitor and.
So, if I could be pretentious enough to try to take the reins for a second, I wanted to respond to a couple of things that Redefine was saying, but then I also wanted to ask Argatha, because he was about to say he had a question and he wasn't able to get it out there just because this has been kind of a zoo.
Can you just do it one thing at a time, please?
Yeah, sure. So
right.
With respect to what you were saying there, Redefine, I don't think that Leophilius was assuming evolution. He was assuming the age of the Earth, which I think that you should make a distinction between the two.
Sure.
Even though, of course, evolution does require long ages, but the thesis that there have been long ages is distinct from the idea of evolution. So I wanted to throw that out there. And the last thing I wanted to say is
wait. Hold up. I'm not trying to interrupt. I promise.
Okay,
I just asked. That's why I asked if you could just do one thing at a time so we can respond. Or else
sure. Okay,
no offense. It's like a Gish Gallop, right? You're going to go down this list of stuff, and I
only had one more point, but go ahead.
Well, what I want to say is, I mean, he already made it clear that he's equivocating micro with macro. So we know that dogs turn into different, like a wolf can turn into a poodle. No one argues with that. Okay, but what that dog was before it was a dog and what that dog potentially will be in the future, I have a problem with that because that's the assumption. So that's why I said it's not. That's the part that I'm saying it's not a fact.
What do you mean when you say it's an assumption? What's an assumption? That dogs will produce something that's not a dog? Well, because that would go against the law of monophily.
Well, so at some point that dog wasn't a dog in the past.
That is true. I can't remember the name of the
answer. Now you're going backwards.
But it's still a carnivore.
Well, that's violates the law of mono. So when you start off with the bacteria, right?
Monophily, I believe, applies. Correct me if I'm wrong, Snake, because I know you're in school. But it's like a species, or it applies at a certain level.
It applies one way.
For example, all the dogs are still in carnivora. There was a basal carnivora, and bears and dogs and cats are all carnivora. So they're still carnivora. It's just
what about before that?
Types of carnivora.
What about before it was a carnivora?
They're still mammals.
They were the next.
But what about before that?
What
about before that?
Mammals
Carnivora is genus, right?
So did God create mammals and then they never changed after that? Is that what you're trying to say? God created a mammal?
Mammals.
Or did something evolve into a mammal that was not a mammal?
You can't go backwards with monophily. You go forwards, basically.
Well, that's not fair.
So
what do you mean?
My model explains it. Yours should too.
Well,
if you're going to critique my model,
you don't have
first mammals.
You don't have.
Okay, we can say that, Luphilius, but it sounds like you don't either, unless you can tell me what that.
You're right. No, hold on. You're right. I don't have a model. I have a
scientific
theory, which is higher than a model.
So the first
you can laugh, but you can't answer my question. And it's a simple question.
Guys,
I didn't hear the answer. Can you please try it again?
And a theory?
No. My question was, since your scientific theory is far superior than mine, then surely you can answer my simple question.
What's your simple question?
If Snake already explained the category, it was a mammal, but at some point it wasn't a mammal.
Yeah, but
Right.
it's
If we
still what
keep
it was
if we
before.
continue to go back far enough, at some point you have to violate that law that you're saying can't be violated.
No, because it's
so
still a
it doesn't go
four-legged
back, it
vertebrate.
goes
Oh,
forward.
what about before that?
Do you know what
was a
nested
vertebrate.
hierarchies are?
What about
Nested
before that?
hierarchies- Nested hierarchies
It was
exist
a
because of the law of
eukaryote.
monophyly.
So at some point, I feel like
This
you guys are
is
going to
not an
start
argument.
dodging.
You basically
Okay.
add.
You want to hang on for a
No,
second here?
Sam.
You want to hang on for a second, Sam? I'm not going to let you do what you did to Peter the other night, okay? Don't walk on people. Don't keep galloping along and running your little points because I know what you're doing, and I don't like it, okay?
Okay,
So
can I
nested
just tell you what
hierarchy-
I'm doing?
You can go ahead and speak for a while and then let somebody else speak, but don't interrupt them when they're responding to you.
Okay, I'll do my best, and you can mute me. No, I won't be offended. How much?
Yeah, good.
I'm just gonna throw that out there.
Okay. Fair enough.
Okay, but I'm not. Okay. This is gonna sound really Kent Hovendy, okay?
Oh boy.
Okay.
Oh fuck.
At some point, and I'm just gonna say it like it is. At some point in the past, everything was a bacteria.
You're right.
No.
Everything
Okay.
was.
Well,
everything
no,
was-
So
no,
according to your logic,
Single source.
Okay,
Okay, look. This is
See,
a
it
common
wouldn't
thing.
be that everything was a bacteria.
Guys,
It'd be that everything
please.
was a
Yeah,
prokaryote.
Leo, I understand you're a very literal person, and I get that.
Well, it's
but
not about
when-
literalness. It's about just being
Okay.
correct.
I'm gonna try to
I
phrase
understand
this,
that as
Leo,
well. I understand that
just
as
for
well.
you, Leo. Can I?
Sam, say
Proceed.
Luca.
At some point, immediately after I grant abiogenesis, which I'm very hesitant to do, but we will for the sake of argument, we'll grant abiogenesis. Now you have something. Now you have to either classify all life as that, or you're violating your law. So
No,
if you can't
because
tell
that's
me
not
what
how
the
phylogeny
dog
works.
was,
So
Okay.
can I finish?
nested
I just need one more,
hierarchies-
like
Yeah, sorry.
10 more seconds.
Sorry, let me. Yeah, Sam, go ahead, and then and I'm gonna shut up, and after that, Snake.
10 more seconds. Okay. That dog, before it was a dog, it was this and that, and we're going down the list. And so what I'm trying to do is I'm just going to keep asking, well, before that, until we get all the way back to that first thing that happened right after abiogenesis. Okay? And since Leo already pointed out how superior his model is,
Theory.
surely you can answer. And
I can,
that's
yes.
what I'm going at. That's all. Go ahead.
Yeah, so nested hierarchies basically show the accumulation of traits, which is what basically, I mean, there's some exceptions like snakes, which lose most of their limbs, but then they add other things like fangs and stuff. So essentially, what you see, the nested hierarchy is the further down you get on the nested hierarchy, the more traits it essentially has. So a sea sponge doesn't have that many traits, and then like a sea cucumber has a little bit more traits, and then a worm has a little bit more traits, and then an eel has a little bit more. It has a backbone this time, and then a fish is like a worm but with fins, and then there are fish that can crawl up on land, and then there are fish that can walk on land, and then there are fish that can walk on land for a longer amount of time. And so you can make these tiny steps, and each time you're basically adding more complexity to it.
Those are massive
Well, it's
steps.
not necessarily more
Those are
complexity.
massive steps. But here's the problem.
They're actually not, though.
Okay, so you have at first you have this genome that only reproduces one thing, and then you're continuing to add like this novel information for something to reproduce into something else. And hold on.
That's
And
a better argument.
every time that happens, it's a deleterious process because you're also picking up mutations.
Not all mutations.
I think you misunderstand it.
No, I
Should we
don't.
go
I don't
back to-
misunderstand it.
Okay.
If we go back to how
I
we
do. What is
eliminate-
deleterious?
Like bad.
Deleterious definitively means bad, non-beneficial, or
bad for
or-
survival.
Destructive, degrading, degradation.
Yeah. Okay.
So there are such things as compensatory mutations, which we observe, which fix deleterious mutations and improve neutrals or even beneficial ones. So we observe that in real time. We observe genes breaking and then repairing
Wait,
in
hold
real
on.
time.
You're going really fast.
What?
It's not that.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
understood
so-
everything that he said.
Well, the devil's in the details. I understood everything he said. Very clear, okay? But I want to know, like, you're saying that... What's that, Grace?
What's the question?
Was that pun intended? Devil's in the details. Was that pun intended?
No, it wasn't, but if it works, then we'll go with it. So every time you're saying this, right? You're assuming against what I think is pretty common knowledge. You're assuming that these mutations are always good, and you're eliminating the bad.
not.
But if you're
No, there's about 3 to 1 bad to good.
okay, so
Best case. But still, if you in models, if you
average
add
rate?
even a little bit of beneficial mutations, the evolution rate goes way up.
so
You can
I
get away with very, very low levels of beneficial mutations as long as you have compensatory mutations and significant enough selection of bad mutations.
So that's essentially like your god of the gaps, right? You're like, I don't know,
we've
but it
modeled
was
actually
beneficial
observed.
mutations that done it. I don't know how, but they just did.
Well, no, we've done
No,
this
it's
in the lab. We've saturated different
No, you
viruses.
haven't.
Yes, we have. I can cite you studies right
Sure.
now.
Let's
We've
talk about
observed-
it.
we've
Let's talk
observed
about those
beneficial-
studies.
Springman R, Keller T, Molyneux I, J Bull, JJ, January 2010, evolution at a high imposed mutation rate, adaptation obscures the load in phage. They saturated viruses with mutations and they didn't go extinct. We've done this with
Cool.
bacteria, we've done this
Let's
with the
talk
lab.
about
You can
let's talk about
saturate
worms.
things with mutations and they don't go extinct.
It's
Well,
also
talk
very
about
based on
worms.
that.
Leo
You
is
see
talking.
a spring of different things
What's-
happening
What's the thing about loading the viruses with mutations? What's that about?
to show that it's just throwing mutations on something isn't just going to make it go extinct, even if the mutations are deleterious.
Right. I
That's
don't think
that's
that's
not-
a problem.
Sure it is. I can argue, like I said, I can argue against that with what we observed with the original H1N1 of 1918. Was it
The-
1918
but
or
that's-
1914?
Things go
But that
extinct.
study,
Things go
that study
extinct. Like
relied-
we've already established that. You're arguing with your own camp now,
I
Leo.
didn't say things don't go extinct. I said
Okay.
that's just adding mutations, even if most of them are deleterious, isn't going to make it go
And
extinct.
again, that's another equivocation
And in fact,
fallacy.
in a lot of instances,
It's not. It's not.
What am I
It's an
equivocating?
equivocation
What am I
fallacy.
equivocating?
You're
What
equivocating
what
something that
definition
didn't.
What definitions specifically have I equivocated? I don't think
Okay.
you know what an equivocation fallacy is.
Sure. You're equivocating something that didn't go extinct with something that you don't know would happen.
That's not.
So
has
if
nothing
you
to do
load-
with what I
if you
said,
load
number
up
one, and number
mutate-
two, that's
The
not an
equivocation,
equivocation fallacy.
equivocation
An equivocation
fallacy is
fallacy is not
saying that
specifically
two
words.
things are the same when they're not.
But that's not
Right.
an equivocation fallacy.
Right.
Equivocation
He's
fallacy is on
comparing-
words.
He's equivocating
I'm
his
not.
study
You
with
haven't shown
something
that I'm
that wasn't
equivocating.
his study.
Wait, hold on.
Not at all what I did.
Leo,
Hey guys,
You- yes, you did.
I can have a
don't
point of
think that
moderation.
either of you know what the fucking equivocation fallacy
Leo,
is.
Leo,
It's
Leo,
on words.
Leo,
Not
No,
ideas,
no.
not concepts,
Leo.
not models,
boys and
not
girls,
theories,
let
not
me
research.
talk. Boys and
It's
girls,
on
Leo.
words.
boys
No.
and girls.
In order to equivocate, you have to use one definition of a word in the wrong context. What word did I use, and what was the context that I used it in that's wrong? If you can't tell me, then stop saying I'm equivocating, because it's obvious I'm fucking not.
Okay, can I
Leo,
answer that?
Leo,
Before you respond, I just speed of sound. He had something to say.
Yeah. Okay. Who is Genetic Entropy C? I don't know who that is.
I don't know.
Also,
Don't let him-
I banned like 2 Jason Ezards from the studio so far. I think this is a third sock, and that
No,
means that nobody
bad.
else can get in without authentication. And I don't
It's-
know what the fuck
it's
authentication is. So sorry.
Genetic
Will.
Entropy Crusader is Will.
Okay,
That's
can
chat.
I
That's Will.
answer, Leo? Let me answer. Okay, you're equivocating one
No, I'm not.
study.
Can I?
You cannot.
Can I
You
say-
can't equivocate
Can I?
studies.
Can I talk without you interrupting me?
You keep
Can
saying
I?
the same thing. I've already corrected you
let him
multiple
talk.
times.
Let him
What is
talk.
the equivocation?
Or I will continue to interrupt you and correct
That's
you.
cool.
You don't
So
know
I
what the
can't speak
fuck the
now?
equivocation fallacy is.
Leo,
Okay.
Leo,
The
I'm gonna
use
have to
of
mute you.
ambiguous,
Leo,
the use of ambiguous
don't
language
make me
to
mute
conceal the
Leo.
truth or to avoid committing oneself. So
Okay.
it's language. This has nothing to do with studies or any of that. You can't.
God damn it.
Do you want me to?
You can't
want-
equivocate studies. So again, what word
Leo's
did I
too
equivocate? Which definition did I use? And explain why it's wrong. The minute you say study, you're off the fucking map. Here be monsters. That's not what an equivocation fallacy is. So stop misusing it.
Okay. Let me try this again. Okay. You are comparing one study, and you are suggesting that it is applicable somewhere on something that has not been studied.
No,
You're
I
saying
did not do
because
that.
you are saying
I
because
did not say
we.
that. That's not what I
Dude,
said.
you need to
That's
stop
not what I said.
interrupting me.
But you've
Okay,
been
I can
interrupting
stop
people.
Okay.
That's not what I said. So you're
Are
getting
you
what I said
triggered?
wrong.
Leo, do you need a hug?
Leo,
Do you need a hug? Can I hug you? Air hug. Big hug.
Okay, so we
We're
know if
we're good here, big guy. All right.
they're all made of DNA. So if we know beneficial mutations can occur in DNA, we know it can occur in almost all DNA, if not all. It's the same principle. It's not like some other organism has a different form of DNA.
Okay.
You're talking about beneficial mutations?
Yeah.
No.
But compensatory mutations are much more likely, and they often fix
Which
deleterious
ones?
mutations. Compensatory.
So
What is compensatory?
It's essentially it's basically one of the beneficial types of mutations, but it compensates for a previously deleterious mutation, and those are observed at a rate of 9 times deleterious.
Sure. Okay. I'm not sure I understand what compensatory means. Is it a bad mutation, a good mutation, or neutral, or is it something else?
It's a good
good.
mutation. It's compensating for something that was originally lost, like you see in the Lenski experiment, for example, where you have a wild type and then you have a mutated type that is resistant to certain I'm drawing a blank. What is the obvious name for this? Come on, like anti-inflammatory, whatever the hell it is, that they gain resistance to. I'm drawing a fucking blank here. But anyway, well, regardless, what I just want to say here, because here I am flopping on a very common word, but so these mutated strains, they're good at resistance. And so I mean, like they're good with respect to this resistance, but when you put them back into the old environment with the wild type strain, with the original strain outcompetes them in certain ways. But then later on, that mutated strain gains these compensatory mutations that allow it to then compete effectively with the original strain again. And it doesn't lose the resistance that it gained in the alternative environment. So what it lost was compensated for when it returned to the original niche.
Okay, so let me speak to that.
I'm still trying to figure it out. Are you saying that a compensatory?
I misspoke a little bit. So I said that they occur at a rate of like 9 times higher. What I meant was there's been studies on like bacteriophages, all kinds of different things, but specifically what I was citing was a bacteriophage study where they found that there were 9 different compensatory mutations that could fix a single deleterious.
Hey, can I?
Sure, but that doesn't mean anything to me because I don't yet understand what the word.
I just here to say one thing. Yeah, I just popped in here to say one thing. Did you guys already straighten out the?
Is that Mr. Ed?
That's Mr. Ed.
Is that Mr. Ed?
Let him talk.
No, I just wanted to, I just wanted to maybe soothe Leo's nerves. Because Leo gets a little upset here and there, but he was absolutely correct. And here's the example. Okay, an equivocation fallacy is just like when you dumbass Christians who don't know anything about. Say.
I have only been nice and respectful to everybody so far. So please.
When you equivocate Shut the fuck up. When you equivocate your theory, that's an equivocation fallacy. Okay. When you say that you don't know the
have been
difference between
respectful. I have tried to listen to what the
other uses the theory, that's an equivocation fallacy.
I don't think there's any reason. Like if you come in and say, "Hey, this is what the equivocation fallacy is."
Hold on a second, Argatha.
Sounded
John
like a
finish.
dumbass when he was saying he was guilty of an equivocation fallacy.
Okay, John, you're really, really breaking up badly.
Leo, he just topped you, Leo. You can do better than that, Leo.
Leo, I know you're
Come on,
excited
dude.
to come
Now
down,
you
buddy.
have somebody to compete with you.
I have no idea what.
We know Leo is excited, but he got to calm down, Leo.
If you can just give me 1 second, let me just say really quick, and let me just explain, okay? So if I am to use Leo's logic, and I won't use the word equivocation anymore, okay? If I am to use Leo's logic, then I can refute what you say by saying, well, look, we have the original H1N1 that was loaded up, right? And it went extinct. So that would apply everywhere. So you're trying to take a study and saying that it applies everywhere. Well, I could do the same thing. And that's why it's an equivocation fallacy.
But
just
that's
like
not
in
an
Hogan.
equivocation fallacy again, because that applies to words.
Who do
And
we
you
lose?
haven't told me what word I'm equivocating and how.
Would you like to say model comparison fallacy?
You consistently misrepresent what I said. Whatever you were rambling on about is not even remotely close to what I said. You're claiming that I took some study and said that it must apply in all scenarios. And I believe I actually didn't. And I'm pretty sure Snake can back me up on this, where I specifically said it doesn't apply in all situations.
Leo, are you excited?
guys
How many
can't-
copies
hang on
do
a
you
second.
have?
Hold on. Argatha wants to talk, and you two can no longer talk about equivocation fallacies. Okay?
Well, it's not my
fucking
fault that he
talking
gets
about
it
it.
fucking wrong.
Stop.
Don't get it wrong, and I won't have to keep correcting you.
Leo, calm down, buddy.
Stop talking about equivocation fallacies, please.
I don't know who. I don't know who.
It's
So,
fucking 1:30 in the
Argatha,
morning.
you're oh boy,
Argatha.
Argatha, you're about to talk here, Argatha. I just wanted to say that the term I was looking for, which I can't believe I couldn't remember at the time. This is what I get for being a stoner, but it's antibiotic resistance. I mean, like that's what I was talking about with the bacteria and the Lenski experiment. And so, I mean, like the whole idea there is that you have what you call your wild type strain, which isn't mutated, and then you have your mutated strain, which is resistant. And yet, when we put that resistant strain back into the original population, we find that it can't do so well as the original wild type can in that old environment again. However, if you wait a little while, they mutate again. And that's what these mutations we're calling compensatory mutations, because what they allow the resistant strain to do is to effectively compete with the original wild type strain again. So they keep their resistance. And then yet, when they return back to the original niche, they get those old mutations back again, or equivalent mutations that allow them to effectively compete again. And that's what the compensatory mutation thing was all about.
I'd like to get back to that. I'd like to come back to that, but I don't know who Question Mark is, and I don't know where he's coming from. But I don't appreciate.
I have an important question.
Will, come on, man. Can I talk? I don't appreciate you insulting all of Christianity because you don't agree with one person. I am a Christian. I believe that God created the universe about 6,000 years ago. I've been respectful. And when Leophilius corrected me on what I thought the equivocation fallacy was, I wanted to ask him, if anybody would have been willing to listen to me, what the definition actually was, so that I could be corrected.
God, are you still
Is that fair?
talking about
I did actually provide it.
fallacies?
Yeah, but
For
this.
fuck's sake. I asked you guys to drop it.
Can I ask you an important question, Leo?
Go ahead.
How many coffee had you had yet? Just
I did
wondering.
not hear what you said.
How many coffee did you drink?
I have 1 cup every other day generally, and that's usually in the morning.
I have
That's
1 cup
genetic
every 5
entropy
minutes.
here.
Speed, I didn't want to.
Look, I apologize, because you guys said you couldn't hear me,
And the only reason I was raising my voice is somebody was talking over me, but it must have been my mic was fucked up. I don't know.
Yeah, it was.
It was me because you started coming out really aggressive, and I was trying to let you know.
Oh my gosh, your camera's on.
Yo, standing for truth, face reveal.
You didn't know who you were.
Bro, he's Kal-El.
I'm sorry.
John.
This is standing for true genetic entropy here. See? He's
Yeah,
decreasing.
so here's the thing. Okay, yeah, I got so hot because somebody kept talking over me, but I didn't realize my mic wasn't working. The thing is, okay,
No,
is
you were working. I was talking over you because I did not appreciate the way
I heard what you said. I heard what you
and
said.
stuff.
Are you gonna keep doing it?
Calm down, buddy. I know you're excited, but calm down, buddy.
I was.
First of all, I'm not
you
your
said
buddy.
your mic wasn't working. I was.
I'm not your buddy. Look,
John,
that was
John,
for
just
me.
do us a favor, and when you're done, just drop your mic.
Oh,
When you're
John,
done
that was
this
the-
time.
that was the-
Just do a mic drop.
No, I don't want to do a mic drop. Why
Well,
would I
you-
want to do a mic drop?
Because you just like went off, and you should just follow it up with a mic
No,
drop.
because it just so. Because here's the thing. I came in here irritated because the people that are guilty of equivocation fallacies, most of
Oh, my
all,
God.
are Christians, and actually the Christians that deny science, like you guys.
Whoa!
no,
John.
Dang, you science denier, Will. That's Will.
Wait,
That's
I'm
he's
not-
talking
I'm not
about
saying-
Will.
I'm saying whoever was originally going at Leo with the equivocation fallacy. I'm not saying
John,
all the Christians
how
in
many
here.
copies did you have?
Okay,
today?
John.
I'm not
John,
saying all the
John.
Christians in here. I'm just saying the group that is
Just
most
me.
guilty of equivocation fallacy.
I'm a
John.
theistic evolutionist. Am I a science denier?
So
Wait,
I
wait,
can't even finish my
John.
15 seconds and then get the fuck out of here. Can I,
Wait, John, I know you're excited.
Wait,
buddy.
John, you don't-
Read.
I'm not-
Don't slap and run, John.
I'm not.
Don't slap and run, John. You got to talk to me. If you're gonna cuss me out, you got to talk to me.
I'm not
Confess to the
cussing you
priest.
out.
If you
I'm
guys
just
are gonna
saying,
fucking talk
shut
about
the fuck up
equivocation
and let me
policy, I'm gonna
finish.
mute
This is why I told you not
Okay.
to let Will in. He's a fucking
Confess.
troll.
Confess to the priest Sam. John,
We
what
won't
you
say
have in your heart.
EF anymore. John,
Wait, Sam, we gotta let John confess what he has on his heart. Go ahead,
Okay.
John.
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
have at me, John. Get it out. Get it all out.
Let him.
Will
you
you
gotta confess
take,
his thing.
is there any chance
Let him.
that just for 15 seconds you could shut your fucking lips up?
Okay,
Yes,
I'm gonna count how many F bombs you drop. Ready?
I mean, Speed was, admonished me in the chat because he says you guys have been so reasonable tonight. I'm not seeing it yet, but hopefully you give me 15 seconds of reasonableness. How about that?
Okay. Yeah, 15 seconds. Go.
Okay. All right. Equivocation fallacy is exactly what you guys do when you refuse to understand the difference between scientific theory and the colloquial usage of theory.
Hey, your 15 seconds are finished, buddy.
No, it's not. No, it's not. I didn't come on that 15 seconds.
Now, 15 seconds.
Your clock is fucked up. That was barely 8 seconds. That was barely 8 seconds.
Or just putting them
That was
backstage.
barely
for
8
a
seconds.
minute.
John,
Yeah, I'm not sure if I can put people back.
Sure.
and move them back.
John, your accusation,
Just
the,
do
the
equally
accusation
time.
that you made is fair.
Yeah, I think so. Okay, John.
Wait, I want to talk to John though.
John, but no, wait a minute, John.
I really
You know
enjoy standing for truth, surreptitiously advertising.
The fuck is he doing? Who
Trace,
killed
why
their
are you
dog?
killing somebody?
Who was
Did he
that?
kill their dog?
That wasn't me. That wasn't me.
I'm messing around with my soundboard. Sorry.
Oh,
I guess
Tank. Oh my
You know what?
God.
I guess Stanley was,
You know what?
I guess Stanley was right about all that violence after all.
Conversation.
No, I mean, it's just, here's the thing. It just killed me that, like, Leo tried to tell you, and I know that sometimes he goes off the deep end, but he tried to tell you there was no equivocation what he was saying, and he would have explained it to you, but you just kept coming right back with it. I mean, that's what irritated the hell out of me. I mean, you're in here with, and I'm not including me in this, but you're in here with some pretty learned people. Speed, Leo. I mean, I'll even give Standing credit for knowing a bunch of words that he doesn't understand the definition of.
How dare you?
But the thing is, you just go. He tells you you're wrong, you say the same thing. He tells you you're wrong, you say the same thing, and he tries to explain to you. You talk over him, you say the same thing. I mean, so that's what got me irritated. That's why I came in. I'm done. My rant's over. Go ahead.
All right, cool. So I won't use the word equivocation fallacy, and I will admit that that Leo did define it properly. However, I did find a definition that just says an ambiguous comparison. But instead, I will say that it was a fallacious comparison.
It wasn't.
And then we're all happy? Are we happy?
You didn't understand. I wasn't making a comparison at all.
Look,
And
John,
I forgot what the comparison was.
John, is that okay with you, John? John, is that okay?
There's only one fuckword on this panel, and that is equivocation fallacy.
Okay, so
anybody who says equivocation fallacy,
I have a confession to do to you guys.
From the department, this is going to settle it. If everybody would shut up and let me define it from the Texas State Department of Philosophy.
God damn it, Leo.
I have a confession to make to you all.
Let it go,
Leo. I'm going to clear this up, okay? You guys must think that I'm a lot smarter than I am. Give me some grace. Jeez Louise.
If
I make no claims.
If I can settle the matter once and for all.
No, you can't.
Yes, I can.
Well, no, it's already over. Can't you tell by the way he was talking a minute ago? He's, it's over. He admitted that he was wrong using that, and probably when we're done here, he'll go study the book himself and figure it out.
Well, guys,
hold on, John. I want to know.
I just wanted to really quick. I just wanted to, because I mean we're going off on this train wreck now about equivocation fallacy. I just wanted to, because I have to go soon. I wanted to thank both Argatha and Standing for Truth for an amiable discussion tonight. So thank you to the both of you guys for the conversation. I enjoyed it. And Argatha, I see that you've had your hand up forever because you wanted to get a question in. So I don't know whether or not you guys want to drop this whole equivocation fallacy thing, but I think it would be great if we could check out some other topics.
Can we vote? Can we vote on that?
I need Leo to explain us more about philosophy. Could that be possible? Leo, could you enlighten us on philosophy?
Well, what I wanted to do was settle the matter. Settle the matter by giving the actual philosophical definition of the word.
Leo, if we don't drop it, we're going to end this stream.
You keep asking me to drop it, and I've literally said that's what I wanted to do.
Wait,
so I don't.
Will, relax. Leo, what we should do is we should go back to the way it was, where we were doing, back and forth, equally timed. Speed, you were doing a great job moderating earlier. Let's get back to that because
Leo, you kind of just fucked all that up. No, stop.
Well,
stop.
I misrepresenting what something was, and then steamrolling over.
Let's just say we're all out of
let's drop that. Let's go speak about genetic entropy.
Let's just say
the facts of genetic entropy. Shall we speak about that?
Wait, did you just say the fact of genetic entropy?
Yes, sir.
It's not a fact.
Well, I'd like to make a point on something I heard when I was upstairs making a meal. I've got a sandwich waiting here for you there, Speed. I know you were talking about late night snacks.
Wait, hold on. Ham or turkey?
Turkey.
You know what? That's funny. I'm a turkey man myself.
Are you a turkey man? Yeah.
No, I was just fucking with you. I was quoting a movie. I prefer roast beef. Turkey's not bad, though.
Roast beef's good, too.
As long as you're not a chicken.
I didn't think Superman had to eat.
Boy, imagine eating your ancestor. How dare you guys?
Just for fun. He just eats for
That's
fun.
True.
He doesn't really need it.
Yo, Leo, I have a question for you. When you eat chicken, do you believe you eat dinosaur?
Well, considering chickens are dinosaurs, yes.
Oh, now we're gonna go on a rabbit trail. Okay, so here
let's
let's
it's
go to the
important to speak
bacteria.
about that.
Well, wait a minute. I have a better question. Wait. So you asked him about chickens and dinosaurs. When you eat crackers and drink grape juice, do you really think you're eating and drinking Jesus?
No.
Okay.
Wait, I'm sorry. Can you ask that question again?
Eating
well,
Jesus.
I had to.
When you eat crackers and drink grape juice, are you?
John, I bet you could answer that question. When Jesus was at the Last Supper, was Jesus eating and drinking himself?
I don't believe in a Last Supper.
Oh, so you don't you leave?
Well, are you doing an internal critique or not?
I had a super important question to Leo about his teaching philosophy.
It's hard to do an internal. It's hard to do an internal.
So it's just rhetorical then.
Can I say something?
Yeah, let Argatha say something.
I have a few things to say, but Will, if all you do is ever troll, no one's going to take you seriously.
I'm not trolling. I'm being serious.
It sounds like you're trolling. I mean, you're
No.
saying things that are that I can't imagine how they are not deliberately offensive.
Are you saying genetic entropy is a troll? Is that your claim there?
I would say that it is a troll because it's so fucking wrong. It's not even funny.
What if we call it
Another
genomic
thing,
degradation?
I know
Is that better?
this is not a Christian channel.
Right.
I'd like it if you guys would lay off of that language.
I unfortunately,
okay.
and I do have
Hey, I will respect your
Genetic entropy.
Well, I want to ask, but I just want to ask real quick on that question. I want to ask, and I will respect your wishes. No f-bombs out of my mouth the rest of the time I'm here. But could you quote the scripture where it says not to use the F word?
No.
Yeah, sure. So I'll quote you Ephesians where it says, "Do not speak
Now-
language of heathen." Here you go.
Okay, hang on a
Yeah.
second.
Actually, I can
Argatha
call
wanted-
people dumbass according to the Bible because Peter called someone a dumbass.
Will, we're really calling them dumbass? Like, that's what I'm talking about, man.
He wasn't calling that to him. He
No,
was
but
saying
it's okay
he
to call
could
people
say it.
dumbass. Yeah, because Peter called someone a dumbass in the Bible.
He's not. Okay,
really
if you've got the verse on hand where
Yeah.
it says "Let no unclean thing come out of your mouth," then
Wait a
okay, read
I
it.
thought,
Alright.
And that's
I thought
fine.
that-
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
thought
well, Peter was in the flesh, okay?
I thought
He was
Adam
not in the
was
spirit when he
really
said that.
intelligent in the
So
Bible.
here you go. I'm gonna read you guys. I'm gonna read you guys the scripture. Wait,
I
wait.
thought asses were really intelligent in the Bible. I thought they could talk and shit.
So this is 2 Peter 2:16. But he was rebuked for his iniquity. The dumbass speak it with such word. Here you go. The dumbass is in the Bible, and I can even point to the beginning.
That makes me like Peter a little bit more than.
Oh, did you say Second Peter?
Hi, agnostic pagan mom. How's it going?
Will, what is the verse?
Will is gone for a moment.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I told you out the gate, Speed. I
I know.
told you out the gate.
Okay. I kind of wanted to talk to the dude, but apparently it isn't going to work with this crowd. So he
Why
can-
is that wrong according to your worldview?
What is wrong?
Yeah.
Why
What's
is
wrong?
what wrong?
That was rhetorical. Let's go ahead. Keep going.
Okay.
All right.
Will is
I'd like to
fine
point
when he's
out
dealing
something.
with people
I
that
heard,
doesn't disagree.
A couple comments being made. Stop, everybody. So, Drace had a question, but I wanted to say one thing, and then I'll allow a response to it if whoever would like to that commented. We'll bring this back to civility. So, I overheard when I was making some food the argument from bacteria on how we should expect or genetic entropy should predict that bacteria would go extinct before humans and higher mammals that we were talking about. Couple reasons why genetic entropy would not predict that. Okay, and then
Who made that argument?
But I think it was
Snake was getting.
Speed and Drace.
Snake was getting into. Well, I was
Snake
talking.
making
I was.
Yeah, Snake was helping out on that.
Because Snake was talking about reproductive rates, and so
you
I mean
making-
that would apply to the whole bacteria.
Were you
thing.
making that argument, Snake?
Yeah.
Okay. Just
Yeah.
wanted to make sure that somebody was making the argument.
Bacteria and insects.
You
multiply
scared me
pretty
for a
rapidly.
second. I thought I was hearing things. Okay, so somebody made an argument. I was about to book a doctor's appointment for tomorrow. I'm hearing
I know what you're gonna
telling me
say.
that bacteria should go extinct first. Okay, so couple things. Bacteria are simple, and they have simpler genomes than humans. Okay. Two, population size is something we have to consider. Okay, bacteria have extremely large population sizes. How many bacteria do we have in our gut alone in one single person? Okay. Another thing, bacterial species are known to undergo major periods of dormancy. Okay, for hundreds to thousands of years. But the biggest thing to consider is bacteria have very short generation times and, okay, more rounds of selection. And since they also have a lower overall mutation rate, this means that bacteria would be the number one candidate, okay, to overcome essentially genetic entropy because of more efficient selection. So no, you will never find a quote from Dr. Sanford, Dr. Carter, anybody, no population geneticist would ever expect bacteria to go extinct. It's impossible. It could never happen. You know,
So
the amount of
Sandra,
bacteria on this planet.
would you
So go ahead,
say
go ahead.
that was a comparison fallacy?
Are we going to get?
That was a
wait,
back.
I don't.
I am not going to say the word beep fallacy.
Okay.
No, let's let that one go, guys. Let's let that one go.
No, that's a fair question. That is a bad comparison.
No.
Yeah, well,
That is opening up Pandora's box again.
The inconsistency
No. That's
or the false analogy fallacy is entirely different from the equivocation fallacy. Those are not even the same.
Oh, brother.
So,
Argatha, you have some.
Speed, remind me to bring you guys in for a Logic 101 course.
Thanks. So say that for the record, Leo.
I'll start talking.
Say what for record?
I'll say my point when everyone stops talking over me.
Yeah, let's do equally timed responses. So, for example, I just finished my little diatribe there. Now, whoever wants to respond to that, go ahead. We should do equally timed responses. Keep it civil. So, I think it was Bob who was about to speak. I heard Snake say something too. So, go around the room.
John's turn.
Who the hell is Bob?
It's John's turn.
I'm Bob.
Bob's my manager.
Go ahead.
Bob's your uncle.
Go ahead, Bob.
No,
What about
Bob's
Bob?
my grandpa. I'm also Bob, and Bob's my grandpa. But so I'm not trying to start a fight. I'm trying to resolve a fight. If that means anything. If there is a logical fallacy,
oh my God,
we need to know. We need to know what it is, and we need to agree upon what it is.
Exactly.
Now, Leo, do you still have the definition?
Oh my God.
I can read it if you don't.
I don't even know what we're arguing about.
No. Look, logic is the foundation of all reason. If we cannot agree upon what is and is not a logical fallacy, how can we have an intelligent discussion?
We're never going to be able to resolve this with this group.
Well, you keep saying we're not going to be able to resolve it, and I've told you literally 7 or 8 times. I can cite the definition of it from the Department of Philosophy of a major university.
Leo, don't.
Okay, look. Hold on. This is simple.
No, Sam, stop.
I was going to end this and just say I was wrong.
Sam,
would you kindly shut your noise hole?
Leo, can you read the official definition and cite the source, and then we all agree upon it, and then we move on?
Yes, from Texas State Department of Philosophy. The fallacy of equivocation occurs when a key term or phrase in an argument is used in an ambiguous way, with one meaning of that phrase or that word in one portion of the argument and then another meaning in another. So a good example is premise 1, Greek is a language. Premise 2, Socrates was Greek. Therefore, Socrates is a language. You have equivocated the word Greek. Firstly, using it to refer to a language. Secondarily, you're using it to refer to nationality or ethnicity. So if you have used 2 different definitions of the same word in the same argument, you have equivocated that. This applies to words or phrases.
What's the accused equivocation?
Yes, but
okay, I was wrong. There's no problem with that. No problem. I was wrong. So, Leo, tell me, what was the fallacy that I was trying to point out?
Well,
what would you call that?
I don't know because I wasn't.
He may not.
Well, you were presenting one study and you were saying that it was relevant somewhere where it was not.
No, that's not what I did.
Well, so what? Person A was doing that, whoever it might have been. What would that fallacy be called?
Hold on. I think this is what
I have to say this. This is I can't believe no one recognizes this. Sam, if somebody commits a fallacy, they by necessity do not know they committed the fallacy.
No. I'm asking them the name of the fallacy. If you're not comparing words, if you're comparing material objects.
Because look,
what is the fallacy you committed earlier?
He won't name the fallacy. He doesn't believe he committed a fallacy.
No, I know I didn't.
Okay, but that's fine. But what I'm trying to say is, whoever heard whatever this guy's name is, that accused Leo of the fallacy. What was it he said, as far as describing it, like what, because he's saying that he believes you took a study and misapplied it to like another topic or another
something like that.
Wasn't about.
Yeah. Thanks, John. You got it.
So what
I did.
So I'm not saying you did it. I'm just saying what would that fallacy be, though?
Yeah.
So if you took something and completely misrepresented it and applied it to something else, generally, well, if you
misunderstood.
If you misrepresented it, that could fall under a strawman fallacy.
It would be an equivocation fallacy, but with material things instead of phrases.
I think it's what.
Hey, yo. Please stop
Will you
right
shut the fuck
now.
up, dude?
Stop the whole thing.
Stop. Let's go back.
This guy would quit talking over me. I had 2 words left in my sentence, and this idiot with the upside down cross starts talking. Look, Speed said it like 15 minutes ago. I think it was Speed that said red herring.
No, it wasn't a red herring.
Yeah, I'll take it. I could eat that.
It is a red herring.
No, a red herring.
Yeah, no, sorry.
When you completely divert to a different topic to avoid addressing something that somebody brought to you.
Okay, I can ask the question really clearly and easy. What would you call?
Living. Hold on there 1 second. Hold on. I wanted to say I apologize to John. I didn't mean to interrupt you. It's just that I'm finally trying to quash this whole equivocation fallacy discussion because it'd be really nice if we moved on.
To do that for like
we agreed.
Didn't I fucking try to do that a half an hour ago?
Listen, excuse me. Look, yes, I would like to get back to the bacteria discussion. That was actually a legitimate conversation. I did have some things that I wanted to respond to with that. But again, John, I apologize for interrupting you. Like I said, I'm just trying to quash this part of the discussion. So we can
and let's not talk about it anymore. I'm interested in the bacteria too, because you're asking about like looking up logical fallacies. I'd like to see the links that Standing for Truth is basing what he just said on, because I would wager a guess that whatever papers he pulls, most of what he espouses from, that he's reading the papers wrong. But
yeah, he's wrong. He's wrong.
Wait a minute.
No.
Stop. John, are you saying you need a paper?
You're going to take that Standing?
You're wrong about the mutation rate Standing.
So are you? I'm wrong about what? The bacterial
mutation rates are lower because the genome is smaller.
Right.
In most cases.
And if you add it up,
if you add it up and you look at the generation times, you end up with about the same mutation rate as human beings for bacteria.
Can you say that again, Speed?
Right.
You start over. We didn't hear it because people were talking
guys,
over.
We can't just constantly talk over each other here. Someone's gonna have to moderate and do equal time. It's my turn. Once I'm done, the next person can go. Okay.
Standing.
That's why
we didn't hear what he said.
Okay, so let's go back to Speed. Make your points. We'll go to me. We'll go to Bob. We'll go to Drace. Go ahead, Speed. Make your points.
Okay. Bacterial mutation rates are about the same as humans. If you do the math on the generation time, the amount of mutation, and the size of the genome, you end up pretty much in the same place. Most organisms do end up pretty much in the same place, and there is no genetic entropy killing bacteria. But then on the other hand, a lot of bacteria go extinct, a lot of other animals go extinct, and a lot don't. And something keeps surviving. The genetic entropy thing is flawed in many ways.
Many
ways.
And the funny thing is,
real quick.
We gotta let Standing respond.
I appreciate that. Speed, how many bacterial species do you think alone, okay, let's look at E. coli, is in your gut? Just your gut. Speed of sound, how many bacterial species do you think?
I haven't counted them today.
How big is your gut?
Today was a little bit.
How many bacterial
Why don't you tell me?
Man,
how many bacterial species?
That
50 inches?
That question's a non sequitur. What Speed just got done talking about, though.
That's a red herring, John. Knock it
how
off.
many bacterial species on this planet?
I'm guessing there may be as many as 50 million of them.
There's a lot.
Or more.
So here's the point. It's not a one size fits all. So yes, okay. Bacterial genomes okay, being more simple than humans. Would anybody disagree with that?
What's
The
that mean?
fact is, you need to consider all the factors.
I would
Okay,
not.
so the factors being bacteria have short generation times and undergo more rounds of selection. It's like comparing a tricycle to a Chevy Camaro. Okay, something goes wrong in your tricycle. You're going to be able to recognize it right away. You're going to be able to fix it, and you'll be good to ride your tricycle again in no time. When it comes to your Chevy Camaro, there's a lot of parts that can go wrong, and there's a
They're
lot of
arguing
things that
more.
can go wrong that are unnoticed. That's the problem. Bacteria have more effective rounds of selection. It's never been predicted by any proponent of genetic entropy that bacteria would go extinct first. I yield.
Okay, Snake.
They're arguably more complex. They have horizontal gene transfer. They have CRISPR, which can edit genes. They tend to be smaller. That doesn't mean it's less complex.
But I think he's talking more in terms of the actual genome rather than their activities, because I mean, like horizontal gene transfer, yeah, like that, that is a way for them to introduce all sorts of new variations and stuff. But in terms of the actual structure and size of the genome, I think he's suggesting that bacteria are simpler. And I've heard scientists say the exact same thing. Like I'm reading through Nick Lane right now. He's a scientist that I'm a big fan of, and he stresses the same point, because his idea is that eukaryotes arise by virtue of a endosymbiosis event, and that otherwise bacteria would have remained simple. All of life would have remained simple if not for that endosymbiosis. And so, like he's getting at bacteria being simpler, which is kind of echoing with what Standing is saying.
Well, are we comparing
and I would
cells
agree
or
with
genomes?
So I just Googled what is the simplest living organism. I'm not saying just Googling something and your first answer that comes up is what you should go with. But
It's always
a ton
the
of
right
articles, a ton of papers came out. What is the simplest living organism? It says, but if we look for the simplest creature on the planet, we find a bacterium. So if someone wants to disagree with that in order to just,
well, are we
argue
shifting
against
the
genetic
goalposts?
degeneration and focus
I
on
thought sure the
minutia.
answer was going to be either you or praise, man.
Are we shifting from genome to cell and organelles?
How many cells?
You
does a
brought up the
how many
distinction.
cells does a bacterium have?
What? How many cells?
Does a bacteria have?
One. My question was, are we now comparing the complexity of the cell or the complexity of the genome? Those are different questions.
Of the cell.
Because I'll agree with you with the
If it's
cell
one
structure.
cell. Okay, go ahead, Snake. I apologize for interrupting.
I thought we were talking about the complexity of the genome, not the cell itself.
Well, as Drace pointed out, if you look to the activities of the bacteria and horizontal gene transfer, sure. But overall, you're looking at a simpler genome that I can't find any source that would say a bacterial genome is more complex than a human genome. You're looking at one cell. Okay, you're looking at, and I don't, what, you can disagree with it all you want, but you're really looking at a bicycle or a tricycle versus a Chevy Camaro. This is what you're comparing when you're looking at a bacteria and a human, okay? The effectiveness of selection in a bacteria, which has one single cell, massive population sizes, okay?
So are they immune? Are they immune to genetic entropy?
Well, that's what's funny is it was never predicted that they would go extinct first or even really be subject to genetic entropy. But Lenski's experiment and many other papers have demonstrated that bacteria are extremely subject to reductive evolution. Bacteria are known to lose genes for short-term adaptive gains to the point where they're in a corner. They've hit a wall. I mean, there's paper after paper on that. So, yeah, essentially even bacteria.
Yeah, but you know why they lose genes, though. It's not because of genetic entropy. It's because they don't have the selection pressure that requires those genes anymore.
So, I mean, I'm glad that Standing brought that up, because there's a bunch of stuff that I wanted to say, too. The first thing is that, like, with respect to the structure of the genome. Oh, I'm sorry. If I'm jumping turns, then I'm going to shut up and the next person goes.
I'm going after Drace. So go ahead, Bob.
Has anyone looked at the screen, by the way?
Yes, I have.
Has anyone looked at the screen?
I don't know what it means.
Jason Ezzard is trying to threaten me in some bizarre way.
He does that. That's why
I know. I know things about you that you probably don't know myself. I don't know.
Didn't he turn on all the other creationists?
Yeah, he did.
You know what? I think he was trying to answer the question. I think he knows how much bacteria is in your gut.
He probably does.
I don't. It's not
That's probably it.
But anyway,
what did that say? I just fucking blew it up to read it, and then you took it off the screen.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I know things about you that probably, period.
Yeah, yeah.
And then he said forgot about himself in the actual email. Anyway,
was it supposed to be ... I only saw the one.
It's Bob's
There are
turn.
roughly 300 to 1,000 different species in the gut alone.
Okay, so Bob, you go ahead with what you wanted to.
Man, you guys, I don't even know if I remember what my question was.
I don't know either.
Well, take a few seconds. Everybody be quiet. Just give
guys, this is not going to turn into praise. Praise the stream.
No, it doesn't have to.
We're doing good here. I think
We're having fun.
That means we're not going to go until 7 in the morning.
No, we're not.
I would prefer
Okay,
to
so
go to
sound or speed of sound.
Yeah.
He was originally talking about bacteria having the same mutation rate, and he mentioned that it sounded like he mentioned in his calculation that it included the generation rate. The reproduction, or not the reproduction rate, but how long it took before they created a new generation. I'm wondering why, shouldn't it make more sense to consider both sides? Maybe not the fact that you should say you shouldn't consider the generation rate at all, but shouldn't you consider both? I think that was probably Stanning's original argument earlier on.
Yeah,
I will say this real quick, and I'll yield. Okay, so I'm looking at an article here from Science Mag, and it says, but as population geneticists such as Lynch, okay, if anybody knows who Lynch is, you'll know why this is important, and others reported at a meeting, bacteria, okay, have much larger populations than humans and have mutation rates orders of magnitude lower. Let me repeat that. Orders of magnitude lower. That's exactly what my point was. Typical evolutionary fashion, speed of sound just wants to disagree just to disagree.
No, I did the calculation myself, and it works out about the same.
Can you explain?
Did you write a paper?
Apparently, Speed knows more than Lynch.
Did you write a paper, Speed?
I have no idea how to explain it at 2 a.m. when I did the
Where's your paper published?
6 months
Where's
ago.
your published paper?
Where's your
creationist?
I think I drew from about.
Can you give a generalization?
I need a source.
Can you give a generalization of the Can you give a generalization of the calculation that you use?
Okay, you take the number of mutations, you take the genome size, and that is going to, basically with a small genome size, you're going to end up with a lot bigger problem, particularly if you don't have a lot of neutral genes, or you don't have, if you don't have a lot of quote unquote junk DNA.
I understand percentages.
Lower mutation rate in order to survive, and it's 3 orders of magnitude lower. And I think the generation rate is about 2 orders of magnitude higher. And I found another factor of 10 somewhere, and it was 6 months ago, and I can't fucking remember how I did.
Stop.
I just double checked Standing.
I just put the source in the side chat, okay, from Lynch. Secondly, let me ask you the question, and then I yield. Does selection act every generation, or how often does selection act?
Every generation.
Okay.
Exactly.
And bacteria have one cell every single generation. Okay.
Why does that make a difference?
Bacteria undergoes extremely effective selection, and you can even read about that in this source here. That's not a Young Earth Creationist source. Mic drop.
Well, I would suppose that they're missing something. So the thing is and I suspected this because of the reason Speed was including the generation rate.
What in the hell?
How does the generation rate
that's what I
apply when it is concerned with the mutation rate?
Because it mutates when it generates.
Why is your link?
It doesn't mutate. It doesn't mutate when it generates. Mutations accumulate
copying
over
errors.
time.
Copying errors.
Yeah, I know, but okay, what causes mutation rates?
Literally the title of
There's a lot of different
There's
things.
a couple of things. Some bacteria, like Lenski's bacteria, they started mutating at a highly increased rate. And bacteria will modify their mutation rates in very odd ways. And you can't make any general statements about this. They mutate all over the place. Anyway, I asked the question a while ago about...
But what are the causes?
The causes of mutation?
Environmental
Copy errors.
pressures.
There's copy errors. There's
copying errors. Yeah.
UV light is a good one. That'll do it.
So would you say
Okay,
that they
the
were
title
breaking
of this
down?
article, just a second. The title of this article is Why Microbes Are Better Than People at Keeping DNA Mutations at Bay. No, this isn't written by John Sanford. Okay, have a look at it. Michael Lynch himself agrees. This is just like, it's not even that hard to understand. I mean, they have simpler genomes. They have one cell. Okay, they get a mutation in that one cell. Selection recognizes it. That's it. It's done. It's out of the population.
Standing.
Right.
I'm
that
going
happens
somewhere.
to mammals.
So let's
Also-
talk about how it happens in multicellular organisms.
Well, let's not move to
How
multicellular
near-
organisms,
how-
because
well,
I feel
that's-
bad for Bob. He was
we're
about to
talking
make a
about-
point.
We were supposed to be talking about humans, right? Or
Well, we've been talking about
mammals
humans for an hour.
Animals.
I mean, humans are relevant in a certain circumstance with respect to the overarching argument. My questioning. So, you're talking about the generation rate being involved. You're using that in your calculation to determine what the mutation rate is. But if the mutation rates are, or if the causes of mutation are determined by when the genome is copied and the how often the or solar radiation, let's say, or any form of radiation. If those are the sources, those are both in respect to time. So, sorry, Sam, but Sam was saying earlier that bacteria supposedly have a greater error reduction mechanism. But if they reproduce at a much higher rate, then that counters the radiation rate that would destroy or alter the DNA. And the other thing is that the only time, as far as I know, I might be wrong, but the only time that I know of that a single cell organism would copy its entire genome would be when it splits, ergo reproducing. So my question is, how is this not relevant? How is this not a distinction from human reproduction rates and their mutation rates? Should this not be considered?
Yeah, because one's bacteria and one's a human.
Share my screen real quick.
Could Godzilla Freak talk? He just came in to say something to
Yeah. And what Godzilla Freak's going to say, I want to support with the slide. So can you share my screen real quick, Speak?
Yeah.
Yeah, so should I just make my
And then Godzilla Freak, you could make the point because I know you're going to make the same point as I am. So
basically, Speed, let me just get this right with you. You're accounting for the size of the genome when you're doing your calculation, right?
Yep.
You're saying that there's like not that many mutations per generation, but the genome's really small, so the mutations have a really big effect. That's what you're saying, right?
Why are there cars and bikes on the screen?
What was that?
I have no idea.
There's cars and bikes.
And can Godzilla make his argument?
Yeah, let him.
Yeah,
well, I don't know that much about biology, but I know that cars and bikes aren't part of biology. That's why I'm asking, because I'm a neophyte at all this.
Okay, no, I'm trying to ask.
Well, let's let Godzilla
See, that's just because you're uneducated. Because cars and bikes and biology are all the same thing.
Oh, they are.
Oh, okay. Thank you for clearing that
Can
up.
you ask me a question?
Bikes
well, the point of this is he's going to make an analogy with this with the bike and the car, but let's let Godzilla finish what he was saying.
Oh,
Right.
okay. Yeah, I haven't heard any nonsense today, so I'll shut up.
Yeah, so speed.
I
You're
haven't heard any
accounting
arguments.
for the size of the genome in the calculation, right?
I think so. I can't remember.
Yeah,
It seems
because
like I was.
I have a
Yes.
study here that shows that the number of mutations per generation is very low in bacteria.
Factor of 3 less usually, but not always.
Right, it's much less.
A factor of 3 usually, but not always.
Yeah, it's not even like 1 per generation.
Right.
Right, but you're saying that the genome is really small, which means that the effect of the mutations is bigger, right? That's what you're saying?
It would be bigger, yes, and that's one of the reasons why the rate is so low. Because it would make a big difference, because there are no introns in bacteria. And so there isn't a lot of places where a mutation can happen where it isn't going to kill the bacteria and then basically drift out of the population as a result. That's why they have a lower mutation rate.
Okay, so now regarding genetic entropy,
go ahead, Godzilla.
and this might be sort of counterintuitive, but I'll justify my claim. The only thing that matters for genetic entropy is the number of mutations per generation.
Yep.
The effect of the mutations, what you're arguing for, is actually sort of the opposite of what causes genetic entropy. Now let me justify this.
That's absolutely incorrect.
Okay, let me justify this. So the number of mutations per generation for bacteria is less than 1, which means that every generation there's tons of bacteria offspring that have 0 mutations, right? 0 new mutations. And if the effect of the mutations is bigger, what's going to happen is that the mutated bacteria are actually going to die through natural selection.
That's
so
right.
you're actually going to get our non-mutated bacteria passing on offspring. So that that actually is very resistant to genetic entropy.
And that's why it's not fair to compare the two.
Right. It's
Right,
exactly
that was my
exactly what
point.
that article
Number of
suggested.
mutations per
Microbes are
generation.
more
That's
immune
what matters.
to mutational meltdown. It's like if there's a problem.
Let Godzilla do it. He's got it.
I thought he just yielded.
Oh,
yeah,
is he done?
I finished.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, you know what, Bob? You should be sorry because you see that
go
Superman that was on webcam earlier. I'm sending him over to your house.
Okay, so can I make a point to
No,
genetic entropy that I've been trying to make for like I don't know an hour?
Yeah,
you know what?
Leo, but I just wanted to.
I
would like to.
Leo. I finally realized who somebody in this room is, and you might know who I'm referring to, but I finally realized who somebody in this room is.
I think I do know who you're referring to.
Yeah, and boy, do I want to have something to say about that one.
Yeah, I know who you're referring to.
Let me in on it, Leo.
I will. I'll text you
message.
after. I'll text you after I'm done, unless John gets to it first. I don't know if it's got you.
Okay.
But so the thing is, at least for me, when people want to talk about genetic entropy, you pretty much have to go to the place that laid it out, which is John Sanford's book, Genetic Entropy and the Mystery of the Genome. I think there was an edition 2005 and one in 2008. Does that sound right? Because y'all are the creationists. You should know more than I about this. Yep. Does that sound right? So I know Speed knows because he fucking follows their literature a lot. So he claims in the book that natural selection being the cause for biological evolution is, in his words, quote, is essentially indefensible, end quote. And he states that he uses Motu Kimura, I think it is. He's got like a mutation distribution curve, and Sanford uses this curve to show that most mutations have a near neutral effect, or more specifically, slightly deleterious. And due to that, natural selection is not able to slow down the accumulation of the harmful mutations. So over time, fitness will decline, and if left unchecked, extinction will ultimately result. Now, I think what they're trying to argue is that it's going to be different, that rate of decline is going to be different in different species based on the rates of mutation. Cool, that's fine, awesome. But something else that I want to quote directly from his book, quote, beneficial mutations are so rare as to be outside.
Anything else other than what you just said?
What?
Please, not his name.
What?
Wait, what?
Just not his name.
He's upset that you took he's upset that you took Jesus' name in vain. And our goth,
okay. Anyway, it's not that big of a deal.
This is an atheist channel. You're going to have to grow a skin.
I respect you.
Okay,
I just ask that you respect me.
Okay, can I finish? Can I finish?
I understand, but I'm saying that I respect you, and I just ask.
Duly noted. I will try my best not to. I can't make any promises because I say it all the time. But I will. If I do, I guarantee you I will catch myself. Duly noted. I apologize. Moving on.
I'd like to go next.
It says
When you're
that
done.
selection is
Let Leo finish for, or he will never stop.
Additionally, the selective cost would be too high to override genetic drift and noise. But the funny thing is, and I can cite the paper that is being cited here, there's been studies that this is just straightforwardly not true. And the funny thing is that Motu Kimura, I think that's what his name is, in a paper in 1979, I think it is, Model of Effectively Neutral Mutations in Which Selective Constraint is Incorporated, straight up says, no, Sanford is misusing my mutation distribution because he says that he excludes beneficial mutations, not because they're insignificant, but because they would have too large an effect. He actually directly approached Sanford on this in Gen Entropy Letters to Creationists in 2013. Sanford has yet to respond. Furthermore, Sanford's assertion that there just is virtually no selectable beneficial mutation is contradicted by examples that show that exact thing, such as I think lactase persistence in humans is one. The tetherin HIV group, the HIV-1 tetherin, something like that, proves it again. So, the actual body of scientific research just straightforwardly falsifies genetic entropy. Straightforwardly.
Okay. Can I just follow up on that?
Who's following up? Who's following up?
Sam.
Okay, go ahead,
Sam. And Sam, and then I would like to go after that. I've been waiting a while as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Sure. Okay, so Sanford says that there will be an accumulation, as you just stated, right?
And that's the problem.
Yeah.
Okay. So I want to remind you of something that I said earlier, that there are currently 203,000 genetic-related, 214,158 genetic diseases currently in the human population, and there are 6,000 new ones added every 3 months.
Okay, your point is rejected.
That's a fact. In fact, there's a paper on it. I can tell you the title.
We're ignoring the fact that they're compensating.
We're just going to reject it.
Let him finish. Can we just let him finish his point?
He made his
point.
Can
you reiterate the number?
I don't want to.
Yeah, I'll just let me
just a question about his argument, just for clarification.
Oh yeah.
Did you say?
Go ahead.
Oh, real quick. Did you say Motu?
I'm sorry, but this is the equivocation fallacy.
Are you saying it was Kimura himself that made this argument against John Sanford?
Ask the question again.
Are you saying it was Kimura, population geneticist Kimura, who made this argument against Dr. John Sanford himself?
I don't think.
No. I said that Kimura has addressed Sanford in his complete misuse of his mutation distribution curve.
I don't think Kimura's ever heard of Sanford.
When was this?
Because he died in 1994, from my understanding.
Yeah, I don't think he's ever heard of Sanford.
I said that that in 1979, Model of Effectively Neutral Mutations in Which Selective Constraint is Incorporated. So I think Kimura already had something out that shows that Sanford was just not correctly using it.
Yeah.
You think now?
But I definitely heard you say that he wrote to Sanford in 2013, which isn't possible because he died in 1990.
Yeah, that's not what Leo is saying. So don't go down that road. Okay, Drace wanted to talk.
Maybe that's where the confrontation was that I'm quoting from. Maybe that's where it was put. I'm not necessarily saying that's when the confrontation happened, but apparently Kimura himself did address. But I also want to address Sam really quickly. And that, mutations can accumulate, but that's not the point of genetic entropy. It's that
it is. That is the point.
Not according.
Yes, it is.
Not according to Sanford.
That's the
It's
point.
That's not what accumulation means.
That they accumulate and that over time that reduces fitness, which leads to extinction. But we don't see human fitness declining. In fact, we rarely ever see fitness declining, but it does happen.
Yeah.
There's
So
two things here.
can you just respond though to that number then? How would you explain that though?
Well, it doesn't matter.
How would you explain 214,158 genetic mutations currently in the human population and 6,000 new ones added every 3 months?
Okay, what is your
matter.
reference?
What matters
What
is
is your
just
reference for current? What is your reference for currently in the population?
Oh gosh, so there's I don't know how to link the paper, but there is a paper, the Human Gene Mutation Database towards a comprehensive.
You're misconstruing what I'm saying. I'm granting that everything you just said is true, 100%. I'm not denying that.
Then respond to it.
I'm trying to do that. But you got to let me respond to respond.
No. Can I clarify?
The accumulation.
Can I clarify?
The accumulation of mutations is not what genetic entropy is. It's the decline in fitness due to the accumulation.
Can you explain why?
Let him make his claim and then refute it.
No, he's supposed to be responding to me, but he's not responding to what I asked him to respond to. Not what I asked. You're not responding to what I asked.
You keep interrupting me, and I can't get the full thought out. And you're trying to rebut a point.
All right, go ahead.
Really fucking made.
Fair enough. Do you need another hug?
Hey, look, just
air hug.
Wait a minute. Hey, slow your roll there, baby.
Hey,
slow your roll
John.
there,
John, listen. This isn't a shouting match.
You keep making the argument that the accumulation of mutations is what's wrong. It's not. It's the decline in fitness as a result of the accumulation of mutations, which you cannot show is happening in humans. So you can point to there being a mass accumulation of mutations, but if fitness isn't declining, genetic entropy isn't happening. You're just fucking wrong on everything. This is why so if you think that you have overturned the consensus, go publish your papers.
Leo, you're smart enough. You don't have to yell. I know you're a smart guy. Okay. The consensus there is a link to genetic entropy at the NIH to Mendel's accountant at the NIH.gov. You can go there and you can do it yourself.
Which is also not taken seriously by the consensus of professionals. So cool.
It's at NIH.gov. Who with the atheist consensus?
That's the National Institute for Health.
It's in NIH.
The atheist consensus does not take it seriously, you guys.
I'll drop you a link in the chat.
It's not an atheist consensus.
The atheist consensus. Leo, but that's not, you didn't.
Dude, is Sygard an atheist? Is Francis Collins an atheist? They thoroughly reject it. They're just fucking dumb.
Leo,
get over it.
Leo, let me ask you a question. When you're done venting on me, I want to ask you a question.
No, you want to let.
Are you done venting?
Go. You want to let Drace go is what you want to do next, because you two have dominated the goddamn conversation long enough.
No, he didn't respond to me though. But fine, that's fine. Whatever.
Now you want to backpedal.
Not to what I wanted you to respond to.
Okay, let's let Drace go, and then I want to make a couple points after Drace.
I'll remove both of you.
After him, it's up to you. Go.
I don't see it on the NIH.
What the hell? Why would you go first, standing? Drace
I see it on the NCI.
It's on.
Hold on,
Yeah,
I'll
it
try to
should be
put
on
it in
the
the chat.
NIH.
Well, I'm not a mod.
So I mean, yeah, just to try to get my points in here really quick. So going back to bacteria, okay, and so I mean, what Stanley was talking about there is how selection is capable of basically stopping genetic entropy in the case of bacteria. But that's interesting to me because if you use Mendel's accountant, something that SFT and company will triumphantly say all the time is no matter the parameters you choose, every single population is going to end in an error catastrophe, in genetic entropy. So I'm wondering if we put bacteria through Mendel's accountant, will it be the case that it survives? I would be interested to run that simulation to see, because my bet would be that it doesn't survive. and that's a major problem. Another thing that I wanted to point out here is that you were talking about you were talking about bacteria being dormant, but viruses do the same thing. They're dormant for long periods of time, and yet H1N1 has been like a major parade for genetic entropy for a long time. Even though, from what this is not something that I haven't finished reading all the articles with respect to this, particularly Dan Stern Cardinal covering the H1N1 and pointing out that what they're measuring are actually different strains that are unrelated to one another. So he's basically saying that the results are bogus because their measurements are all screwed up. But regardless,
there's like tons of papers on it.
Whether or not that's true. So yeah, I mean, like whether or not that's true. My thing is that when you're using something like dormancy to explain why we wouldn't see it in bacteria, but then the same thing happens in viruses, so why do we expect it there?
Well, it's because viruses have fast mutation rates and short generations. So that's why John Sanford and Rob Carter wanted to look at viruses, because viruses would be the perfect thing to look at to see if genomic degeneration is true. And what they found, because Dan is wrong, because what they found was the virus, okay, it actually started off, and let me finish my thoughts, and then, because I heard someone, and then I'll yield, take as much time as you need. But the virus itself, okay, for one, it went from a red hot pandemic to a whimper to an extinction event all in 90 years, okay? When they analyzed it, it's published in secular journals. The virus started off more human in its codon usage, but it ended up randomized, as in it became worse at interacting with human DNA over time. What that means is, okay, if this virus is using the wrong codons, that means it's going to be less efficient at replicating in human hosts. And what they found was an actual real explanation as to why, for one, mortality rates went down, and two, they helped to explain why the strain itself went extinct. Bacteria and viruses, that is a false equivalency, because they're not equal replication rates is the problem.
So what about viruses that don't show that?
That's very well.
That show compensatory repair of.
Okay, can I make another point here? So what you have to realize is that dormancy is a very small point, right? It's not a major point. It's a very small point. What you have to realize is that the mutation rate, the number of mutations per generation for bacteria is very small, to the point that a significant amount of the population accumulates no mutations in a generation. Right? The dormancy is a very small point. The slow mutation rate, that's the big point.
I'm happy with that response, that you're able to give me some differentiations between viruses and bacteria, and I'll work with that. I'm most interested to see, because we're talking about how the numbers haven't been run yet for a lot of the more higher eukaryotes. And what I've done is I've picked up a bunch of literature going all the way back to the 80s on studies of natural selection and population dynamics in wild populations, just to see whether or not the data that we get from these long-term studies can be replicated in Mendel's accountant. And again, I'm going to place my bet that the results are going to be really bad for Mendel's accountant, but that's future work. So at this point, it's just bluster, but we're going to see what happens.
Right, because we know.
Well, let me say one thing real quick, because he responded to me. Yeah, real quick. So I appreciate Drees's points, actually, and I appreciate his willingness to dialogue, and I like his cordial approach. So what you said there is, I would place a bet that if they ran the numbers on bacteria, the result would not be the same as when they run the numbers on humans or higher mammals with those types of parameters. So like you said, we're just saying things, and maybe those need to be tested. But
I think Mendel's accountant doesn't make a distinction standing between the types of gems.
I'm sorry, Speed. Yeah, Speed, because that's my thing, is that if Mendel's accountant is being touted and standing, I heard you say once that it's like the #1 simulator for population dynamics and population genetics. And I think that that's an exaggeration, to say the least. But I am interested in testing the reliability of the simulation. And if the simulation, when we run through all these different populations, and if it's not reproducing the actual data that we see, that's a problem.
If we're reproducing faster than the diseases can kill us, then we wouldn't die off. We would just see an accumulation of these genetic related diseases as we see. But here's the problem. According to your model, you have 150 to 200,000 years of a small population under six. I mean, I don't know what the numbers are, but I mean, it wasn't until the last 6,000 years that the population on Earth really started to explode. So the problem is having these low populations and multiple years of reproduction. That's when you're going to see this accumulation. So we don't see that accumulation now because we're reproducing so fast. The populations of humans on Earth is just exploding. So this genetic entropy, it is accumulating, but it's not wiping us out.
What population are you speaking of, though? You said the population. What population?
Of humans.
Yeah.
Well, I thought the population of humans didn't even start till 6,000 years ago.
According to your model, I said.
Hey guys,
according to your model, there was a split, right? You have a common ancestor of an ape or chimp or whatever. I'm not trying to straw man. Just at some point, you guys broke off, according to your model, about 200,000 years ago, and then so you have 200,000 years of mutation accumulation in small populations for a long period of time. And now, according to the observable evidence that we have, the mutations are building up, but the human population now currently within this last 6,000 years has grown exponentially. And so we're reproducing faster than these diseases can kill us. It's not a problem if the Earth was populated 6,000 years ago, but it's a huge problem
how is it not a problem if the Earth was created 6,000 years ago?
Because we're reproducing faster than the entropy, faster than the disease accumulation can catch up. So here's the problem. You can't deny the over 200,000 genetic diseases in the human population. You can't deny it. Okay, that's not something that you can argue against. That's a fact. So the only thing you can do is explain why it hasn't killed us, and the only explanation is that we're reproducing faster than it can kill us. So that makes sense from a young Earth. But if you want to add 200 or 150,000 years of a low population, disease accumulation, it just, I don't know how you can explain that.
Don't you understand that when the population is lower, the disease accumulation is smaller? I mean,
but only proportionally.
Yeah, it still adds up.
Here's the thing: is we're constantly adding new mutations and new deleterious mutations. That's a fact. But we're also constantly purging and repairing these same deleterious mutations.
You say that.
Mechanism.
We
say that.
We see it.
No, you don't.
Time.
You don't.
Yes, we do.
In the human population?
Yeah, you do.
Yes.
No, you don't.
Can I quote something for you?
Ask him to support his claim.
Really quick. Every 3 months, the human population is picking up 6,000 new genetic diseases. Every 3 months. Cool. That's a fact. That's not something you can argue against.
You got a source on that?
I tried to tell you the source. I can't link it, but I can tell you the name of it.
Why can't you link it?
Because I'm not a mod.
Wait.
And I'm on StreamYard.
Hey,
Well,
guys.
say something.
Hey, Sam, what's the name of the source?
The Human Gene Mutation Database towards a comprehensive repository of inferred mutation data for medical research.
Just drop it in the side chat, bro.
Next generation sequencing studies.
Yo, Sam, drop it in the side chat. Drop it in the side chat.
I can't because I'm on my computer and the link's on my phone.
Well, okay, then say it more slowly. The human gene.
I got it. Hold on. Let me repeat this title back.
Type it in the fucking private chat.
Or I could link it
instead of trying to spell it out
back to him and see if it's the right one.
Well, link it if you want.
I want to make sure it's the right one. The Human Gene Mutation Database.
And then I have something to say, and you guys are going to listen to me.
Yes.
I'm going to start dropping you up.
Comprehensive repository of inherited mutation data for medical research, genetic diagnosis, and next generation sequencing studies. Is that the one?
Put it in the fucking chat.
I was asking him if it's the right one before I link a paper he's not referring to. Now that
I believe that's the right one.
I will link it. I'm not going to link it.
Okay, cool. Leo's going to link it.
There it is.
And awesome. Why didn't you put it in the regular chat?
Thanks,
okay,
Leo.
Guys, listen, everyone. Okay, I would like to have like two out of the group come here and have a calmer, slower conversation at some point. But tonight it is almost 3 a.m. and I would like to end this thing. And you guys are just all over the place, and it isn't working. Okay,
Make
so
some
like
coffee.
standing in
Speed.
Argatha, maybe come on, and we can have a slower chat, and we can do a little more careful sourcing, and have a good conversation.
Yes. Speed, well, I have something to think about until the next time that you stream.
Okay.
Can I ask if all of the atheists in the room could give, say, the top reason that they deny the existence of God?
The existence of what?
God.
God.
Oh,
Speed, start.
Me?
Yes. You.
Yeah, just the top reason, and remember, I have to type it out because I got to think about it.
Okay, the only way for there to be a sentience is to have a biological entity with a nervous system and a brain much like ours. So that's how you get intelligence. There's no way for that to exist in any supernatural form. So
Okay, does anybody have an actual intelligent argument?
True. That doesn't make sense, Feed.
Wait, hold on, Speed. Don't you believe in
you.
reincarnation? Don't you believe in
who was saying
So
reincarnation?
hold on there, because I mean,
I'm sorry. If you thought,
Argatha,
I'm sorry. If you thought that was an argument,
It kind of
I
is.
thought it was really obvious. I thought someone was trolling. Is it
You
real?
can't have an
Okay,
intelligence.
You don't know everything, so you cannot make that claim. You don't know. Maybe
let
God
me
has a
ask-
mechanism.
That's like
Hold
saying
on,
I
Will.
can't say that my
Question
phone is made out of
pertaining to-
atoms because I don't know everything. What the fuck did you just say, dude?
I
Well, I wanted
don't
to
know
ask-
who was talking, and
Well, I
if
actually
they
wanted to
were
ask a
being
question that
serious,
we would
I'm
agree upon.
sorry for thinking that they were not.
Okay, let me ask a question we'd actually agree on. That would
Dude,
help.
wait a minute, SFT. Hold on. I haven't said anything in a long time.
No,
Hold on
I
one
think
second.
Speed was wanting to
Hey,
close the chat.
Yeah,
and
I
he was
understand that, but I just want to say, dude, you just ripped on Speed's. You asked an honest question. He was giving you an honest answer. And you, as a person
I
that believes the
apologize.
Earth is 6,000 years old, was calling his argument dumb. Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, I know.
I apologize.
The irony. The irony.
The irony.
Okay, let me ask.
I apologize. I'm sorry if I didn't think it was.
I wasn't trying to elicit an
Can you
apology. I was
understand that
pointing out that
everybody
you're pretty
is?
stupid yourself, dude. That's what I was pointing out.
Okay,
I'm
okay,
stupid.
to bring this back to something serious. To end
I don't think that we need to insult each other. I'm sorry that I insult. I'm sorry.
We just keep
I'm
going down.
sorry. I'm sorry
Okay, Bob said
that I
he's sorry.
insulted somebody.
Okay, Bob said he's sorry.
I don't
Leo,
think.
are you going to get in on this?
Well,
question
the
for
thing is,
Dre-
that our
question for Dre, Speed, and Godzilla
all
3.
the people, all the atheists in this room, and I think that would be just a good note to end on, and that if people can have their own discussions another time, because it is 2:41 in the morning for both me and Speed, and I'm sure that both of us would like to get to bed, and there's probably some other people in here that would like to get to bed. So,
Come
Speed,
on,
finish your
pull
point.
some
What? No way. Make coffee. We're doing this.
We've been
leaving.
I promise you.
Okay,
Shut
look.
up, baby dog.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Baby
Stop.
Hey guys, look,
This is a
I
question
did
to argue
stupid.
on.
I did something stupid. I gotta fix it. Okay, Speed, was that your argument? Was that your
Yes.
question?
Yeah, there was
I'm,
no
I'm
possibility.
sorry, I didn't. Okay.
Okay,
So can
finish.
you restate it
Okay,
again?
let me just ask a question that is not to meant to be argued. It's just.
He already asked the question, though, and one
He asked the
person
question. You're done standing. You're done for the night. Okay.
So,
Okay, we'll
Leo,
talk
you
about it
wanna go
offline
next?
then.
You want to
Okay.
go next, Leo?
We'll talk
I
about
don't
it
know if
offline.
Speed was done, and Argoth asked him to repeat it.
Again?
I guess so.
There's no
Please.
possibility of an intelligence without a biological brain in a world. There is no possibility of a sentience that doesn't have that. That's it.
All right.
And short form at 3 a.m. If you want to get into that in more detail, we could do that another time.
I would like
Speed.
to have that conversation with you, Speed.
Guys,
at some
hold
point.
on. Speed.
Yep.
I'm sorry if I came off insulting. I did not mean that.
You are
I'm
forgiven.
sorry. Thank you.
All right, now Speed, popcorn to the next atheist.
Next atheist, Leo.
Okay, I guess I'm going next. So, God is just straightforwardly incoherent. It's a
Wait,
super.
slow down. He's got to write it down.
It's a
Just
super.
slow down.
Right.
It's a
God
super.
incoherent.
Because it
Because
is a supernatural being. Supernatural defined as existing external to and independently of the natural world, which means
Sure.
that God exists
Wouldn't he have to?
outside of space,
Sure.
outside of time, and is not constituted of mass energy, which means
Sure.
that God exists nowhere, no when, and is made of no thing, which
No
makes him
where, no
yeah.
when,
In order to have a
no
where, you've got to have space. In order to have a when, you've got to have time. And in order to have things, you've got to have mass energy extant in that space time. So God exists nowhere, no when, for no amount of time, and is made of nothing, making him completely non-differentiable from something that just doesn't exist at all, because things that don't exist nowhere for no amount of time and are made of nothing.
But Leo, the creator of space, matter, and time would have to exist outside of space, matter, and time.
We're not responding. We're not responding.
Oh, okay,
We're
my
not
bad. I'm
responding.
sorry. My
So,
bad. I apologize.
I am popcorning to John.
Okay, and then the only atheist left after me is Snake, right?
Snake and
Wait, hold on. Let me write down who said each one. So this was Speed. Okay.
And then the second
Intelligence
one.
without a brain. And Leo said that God is incoherent because he is supernatural and he exists nowhere, no when, nothing. Okay. Who's talking next?
John.
John.
I'm an atheist too, but I'll wait in line and I guess just finish it off or something. So go ahead, John.
Yeah, mine'll be real easy. You'll be able to write this down very quickly. I believe in prestidigitation, but I don't believe in magic.
What's prestidigitation?
I'm not sure. Prestidigitation is a cantrip in Dungeons and Dragons. What is the it's sources? I'm not sure I understand the distinction.
Prestidigitation is the art form of magicians who are just.
Oh, you mean sleight of hand versus men?
Well, that's a form of prestidigitation, yes. Sleight of hand. But
Would it
anyway,
be fair
my simple answer is I believe in prestidigitation, but I don't believe in magic. That's why I don't believe in God.
Can I say I believe magicians can look like they do magic, but you don't believe in magic?
That's prestidigitation.
He believes in the illusion
of magic,
but not in magic in general.
You could just write down what you said you wanted my answer, or you could just write down.
Yeah, just write down his answer and move on.
Can I finish, man?
John, I'm trying to write down what I will remember.
Okay, but you asked what my reason was, and it'd be really simple for you to write down, I believe in prestidigitation, but I don't believe in magic, and then take 2 minutes and look up the word prestidigitation, dude. What the hell?
I spelled it.
Against learning a new word?
But
you got to get your notes out of that Bible every once in a while.
I don't believe the thing is that I played Dungeons and Dragons for years. So when I hear the word prestidigitation, I think of the cantrip that a wizard and a sorcerer can learn.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay.
That's why I asked for what your definition was.
Move on.
It's fine. You're fine, dude.
Okay.
You wrote it down. You're good. Next person. Who's next?
John. Pick somebody. Drace or Snake.
Well, Drace said he wanted to go last, so I'll pick Snake.
Oh, Snake. Just kidding.
You are God.
Okay.
Snake has a million reasons.
Basically, I just hate God and I want to watch Pornhub all day without feeling guilty.
Excellent.
It's honest.
No,
That's
just
honest.
kidding. It's the same reason I don't believe in Bigfoot.
That's actually very consistent.
Wait, no, I'm confused now because you're saying that it's the same. Bigfoot doesn't tell you that you can't watch porn.
No, that was a joke.
Neither I got news for you, Bob. Neither does God.
Seriously, it sounds like you don't accept the morality that God or
accountability
that my God claims to have instituted. Is that fair?
I don't accept the morality that the people who claim to be hearing the voice or inspiration of God in the Bible wrote down in the Bible. That's correct. But that's more of a reason I don't accept the Bible. That I'm able to separate a deity from the Bible, and even the Bible could be wrong, and there could still be a Christian God. I believe that people could be writing down a flawed document about a real God. That's totally possible. But so what I was going to say is I don't believe in God for basically the same reason I don't believe in Bigfoot or other cryptids, because the lack of evidence.
You said that was a joke.
No. The first reason was a joke. The whole Pornhub.
Wait, are you going off on a second reason? Because your first reason was that you didn't like his morality.
Yeah,
I only need the first reason because I'm going to go through all these and trying to think about them. And then
I'm sure there's truth to the first reason.
So the thing about the Pornhub was a joke.
So not liking his morality was a joke.
Well, that wasn't the reason. It was that
Yeah,
the whole
you
joke.
brought it
Let's
up.
just not even worry
I
about
was parodying the accusation that I don't believe in God just because I just
want to sin.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'll
let
give
it
you
go,
Snake. I'll give you 2.
Well, no, that's
you
not
hate God and you don't want to feel guilty. What's the other one?
He was joking.
That wasn't
that's
an
a joke.
actual
First one was
I'll give it to him if he wants to bring it. If he feels
he
at
doesn't
that
want
time that he wants to talk about it, I can bring it up.
But,
Snake, I'm really disappointed that you don't have a better reason after all of the keyboard battles we've taken together. I thought you would have done better, really.
I can't even get to my reason.
This is
So
truly disappointing.
I do reject the morality of the God in the Bible, but that's not why I don't believe in any gods. So I think I explained that before. I think
Essentially, Snake is saying that he thinks gods are nonsense, just like Bigfoot and leprechauns and Santa Claus
Hey,
and dragons.
Leo.
Let me get to
Leo, that's what I want to know. What I want to know what Snake thinks.
my serious answer is the lack of evidence for the existence of any proposed thing is reason enough to not believe in it. So I haven't seen any evidence. We have no way to test for this idea of God.
Hold on, I have to type it. Lack of evidence for any proposed thing.
Is reason enough not to believe in it.
Right. That's his answer.
Lack of evidence is reason enough to not believe in him.
Yes, he denies non-material things like logic and truth.
Period.
No, I'm just saying we can't test
Things like that. He denies.
So I don't.
Hey, Sam,
can't test for it.
Can you test that? Can you test that? Can you test that logical theory, Snake?
Stop.
No.
Sam, we're gonna come back and talk to him. Speed wants to end his stream, and he was gracious enough. And thank you, Speed. He was gracious enough to let me get feedback from the atheists that are on the channel. So
I had a little more.
We'll come back to you. Didn't
He's serious.
Who's the upside down cross guy?
Grace.
Yeah, so so I think that the debate between young Earth creationism and evolutionary naturalism is important because you have a lot of different conceptions of God, and like many conceptions of God include this idea that humanity holds a privileged place in the cosmic order, that the relationship between God and man is like the greatest love story ever told. And when I look at the current science with respect to humanity's place in the actual cosmic order, I don't see any kind of privilege in our standing in the universe. And so that would be like one reason why I doubt it. And this is called the argument from scale. It was first given by Nicholas Everett in his book, The Non-Existent
from Scale.
Hey, can I make a suggestion, Bob?
Hang on a
can always
second.
go back. You can always go back to the video after the fact and listen to his answer again and write.
Right,
it.
that's another thing.
Oh, that's good.
Also, Grace.
That's true, but I'm lazy.
Grace, I absolutely love you right now.
Finish. All right. Yeah, I like that book
great.
by Nicholas Everett. Nicholas Everett is good because of how clear and simple of a writer he is. If you read The Non-Existent, Nicholas Everett, and if you've read The Non-Existence of God and you enjoyed it for its writing style, I would highly recommend Nicholas Everett, and he has a co-author,
Their introduction to, it's called Modern Epistemology, I believe is the title. And you won't find a better introduction, a more clear, concise, very well explained introduction to epistemology as a field of philosophy. But that's a digression. I do want to just finish off with my reasons here that you asked for. I gave the argument from scale as one reason. Another problem that I have, though, because that only deals with gods that actually like interact with humanity, but then you have the deist conception of God that doesn't interact with humanity. And so is there any reason not to believe in that? And I think that there are problems with that conception when it comes to the whole idea that he creates space and time. And so there's this question of how can you perform a creative act in the absence of time, that it would seem to presuppose that you need time to transition from a state of there being nothing to a state of there being something. And so I think that there's a paradox involved in that, and that's a problem. And the final thing that I'll say about this is with respect to the morality conversation we were talking about. I have a certain theory about Christian origins, about the true purpose of what Christianity was really all about. And it is not a good picture at all. That's, you guys might wonder why I'm coming in here with an upside down cross. And of course, that was originally the Petrine cross. This is originally a Christian symbol, but of course, in our modern day, it's come to mean quite the opposite. And my thing here is that I feel that when you come to properly understand Christianity and history, what its purpose was, why it was started, you end up with a picture that is a lot more, well, not very nice, I guess you would say, as the understatement of the year. And I think that there's a major problem when it comes to the Christian conception of ethics in our world. It wouldn't be a problem if its metaphysics were correct. I think that would alleviate a lot of the problem. But because I don't agree with the metaphysics, I think that the ethics will lead us down a really bad path. And that's all I can say about that for now.
So wait, did Standing
I
did Standing for Truth leave before he told us why he doesn't believe in God?
Wait, can I give a 1 minute reply to everyone here, or 30 second?
No, I don't think you should.
Come on, why is that fair?
No.
It's not fair.
We started this like
30 seconds.
Yeah, no, that's all right. Sam. We don't need to hear it.
What about 1.5 minute total?
I'll tell you what, why don't you go call your daddy Darth Dawkins instead? Go call your daddy Darth Dawkins.
John, Sam was making a joke.
No, I was serious. I'd like to do a quick one sentence reply.
Hey, everybody else in the audience.
Who wants to do a reply?
Nobody.
Me.
Nobody.
No.
Right. I just want to finish.
Bye, everybody.
Good night.
All right.
Snake had another argument.
Well, it's been fun.
Question.
Jesus Christ.
Snake?
I'm going to start throwing people out. Snake.
Okay. Well, if you want, Argotho, if you want to talk more, I gave you my email in the side chat. But what I was going to say is, I think that the idea
I need somebody to apologize for what they did.
What? Wait, what? I'm confused.
Someone just
Argotho
used the Lord's name.
Upset that Julius.
Don't get distracted. We're trying to end this.
It's not a distraction. It is offensive.
I don't get it.
You respect.
I think he'll get over it.
My opinion enough.
I
think I have been respectful to you.
Who are you addressing?
For doing something that offends me.
Who are you addressing?
Whoever said that. Whoever said Jesus Christ when he was not actually talking to him.
I think
maybe I was. I don't even know.
I say Jesus Christ all the time. I'm sorry.
It's a powerful name.
We're trying to end this, okay? So will you please let Snake finish?
Okay.
Well, all right. If you're in a state of mind to take it in, so I think that the idea of God that's been presented to me is he created everything. There's nothing outside of God. So that in itself to me is incoherent. It doesn't preclude some type of God that is a part of the universe, but the idea that God created existence and logic itself doesn't make sense to me, because these things need to exist in order for the mind of God to function at all.
Hold on.
If
So
God
created
causes these things,
Hold on. I got to write it down. So created existence.
Dude, you can go back and dream and write it down.
I'm too lazy. I'm not going to do that.
Those are the attributes of God, Snake.
So speed should just stay up forever because you're lazy?
If you would stop interrupting. I mean, I don't think it would take that long if people would just be respectful.
Yeah, will people start leaving, please, and just let Snake finish? I want to go to sleep.
I'm crashing this party to the bitter
So
end.
God created everything. Nothing is outside of space, time, and matter. It's incoherent.
So
He
essentially
created
there's-
existence itself and logic.
there's attributes like existence or logic that a mind requires to function, which were supposedly created by God's mind, but he needs them to be there in order to function. But if they're caused by him, so it's this circular reasoning that just is a apparent fallacy to me.
Okay.
Okay, guys, let's end it.
All right, finally.
Thanks, y'all.
Speed.
Been fun, guys.
End of the war.
I
Thank you,
appreciate
everyone.
you letting me go through and getting everybody's
Hey,
stuff.
it's all good.
Ending the broadcast.
Finally, I